I'm Sean Fennessey.
I'm Amanda Dobbins.
And this is The Big Picture, a conversation show about Nicole Kidman. Later in this episode, I'll have a conversation with Halina Reijn. She's the writer-director of Kidman's new film, Babygirl. It's an erotic, thriller, black comedy mashup that Amanda and I will talk about today, along with Kidman's expansive career in building her Hall of Fame. Halina was last on the show for her film Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Phenomenal guest. Incredibly funny, insightful person. I encourage you to stick around for that conversation. Amanda, I think you will enjoy it as well. I hope you'll listen. But first, I didn't wait for you for very many movies on the pod while you were out, but I did wait for you for Babygirl because I saw Babygirl like 3 months ago, and I was like, it was like probably 3 days after you gave birth. And I was like, you were a baby girl of your own. And I was like, boy, this is an Amanda text if I've ever seen one for a variety of reasons. Babygirl, of course, stars Kidman and Antonio Banderas, your beloved Harris Dickinson. It's Halina Reijn's third feature as a director. She wrote this movie as well. It's about a high-powered CEO who puts her career and her family on the line for a torrid affair with an intern.
Mm-hmm.
It is that, and it is a lot of other things as well. A story about power, sex, passion, desire. A very funny movie, I thought. What did you think of Babygirl?
It would be irresponsible and betray the ideas in the movie and a great performance to just start with Harris Dickinson dancing to father figure. But Harris Dickinson dancing to father figure. Holy cow. That was very important. I like this movie a lot. It was interesting to watch everyone else see it before me, and it seems to be somewhat divisive.
I think it's pretty mixed has been the reception, yeah.
Well, is it mixed or is it people either love it or hate it? Because I saw a lot of polarizing takes. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Really still getting over Harris Dickinson. I'm somewhere in the middle. I think it's really good. I think the Nicole Kidman and Harris Dickinson scenes together, frankly, the sex scenes and the ideas about sex and power, but really sex on screen were very cool and very good and very memorable. The CEO stuff and this idea of a woman in power, like getting there to some extent. And, the further you get to the sides of some of the Hedda Gabler constructs, some of the robot concepts, I was like, oh, okay, there's a lot in this movie, and I don't know if everything is pinned down, but it has sort of that instantly memorable, what it's trying to do. It gets really right in a way that I think will be referenced for a while to come. So I'm pro.
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same way. I don't think it's a perfect execution of what it's attempting to both honor and subvert, but it's an interesting attempt at taking the framework of a certain kind of a movie, an erotic thriller, and using it to basically tell a very vulnerable and at times very goofy portrayal of desire. And that there's just not a lot of examples for that. I think one of the reasons...
Well, is it about desire or is it about suicide? As Antonio Banderas wails into his hands at the table when talking about Hedda Gabler. Not suicide, but wanting to wreck your life.
Yeah, I think we should talk about that. Yeah. I think we should talk about some of the things that Nicole Kidman's character thinks she wants versus what she actually wants, and how some of those things are communicated, and how the Harris Dickinson character becomes a kind of portal to getting what she thinks she wants, and then looking that right in the eye and figuring it out. I think we will be spoiling the movie. Again, this is not a movie that necessarily hinges on its plot turns. It's really a movie of set pieces. It's a movie that really uses music very effectively to kind of build to its set pieces. One of the reasons why I think it's so divisive is this is not Basic Instinct. This is not Fatal Attraction. It at times feels like it because of the way, say, the score works, and we see the characters in very up close, handheld, intimate photography, and the idea that characters are climaxing on screen, and that there's this, but there's no murder in this movie. The stakes are a person could be felled from power, but there's no Sharon Stone slashing someone's throat.
Right.
It's a very different kind of thing. It doesn't even have the mania of The Rabbit with Glenn Close. And so I think one of the reasons why it's divisive is it's selling us on a very sexy, very kind of scary thriller. And it's not really that. It's like a comedy of manners played straight. And I think because of that, and other things for sure, but the screenings that I've been to of this movie, people are laughing in the movie theater. I think because of some of the discomfort that they have. Okay,
yeah. It was absolutely silent in my screening yesterday. I mean, it wasn't like packed.
Okay.
People catching up. But no, like, and the movie very memorably starts with just Nicole Kidman orgasming or fake. It's the sounds anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And those sounds are like piped in loud and there's nothing else. No one else was making any noise for a very long time.
Yeah. I don't think that you're meant to think it's funny right away.
Yeah.
And at first, okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
This is hopefully an episode of Great Revelation. When you were watching that sequence where you're like, well, this is clearly a fake orgasm and this is immediately being communicated to us?
Of course not.
Okay.
And even when she storms down the hall and gets out her computer, I was like, oh, okay, so now she can't enjoy sex. She's going to like pull up the screen and like get back into her meetings or whatever.
Yeah, go back to work.
And then a great reveal instead that she's like, I mean, I had some computer safety and just like basic computer practices concerns with her. She watches the porn, which is like very readily available on that laptop that is like seems to be in an open office that she shares in a house that she shares with her 2 teenage daughters and her husband. And then when she is done, she doesn't hit stop and close the tab. She just closes the computer. And I was like, lady, come on.
So
like,
next time you open that laptop, what's there? Yeah,
I mean, technology in general and how it's being used in this movie.
Sounds like someone with some porn watching experience.
No, I mean, Samuel is saved in her phone as Samuel. Come on.
I had some concerns about that as well,
again. So right off the bat, we're like playing fast and loose here. And on the one hand, I was just like, okay, so this is a movie. They're not going to get everything right. And on the other hand, maybe this person is being reckless. And
I think in
that, some ways,
at least in that sequence, well, that raises a question about laptop etiquette in one's home, especially with a family, which is I have my laptop and you have yours. Yes. Don't open mine and I won't open yours. Is that how it works in your home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and
my wife has a Lenovo and I have a MacBook, so it's almost like driving an EV in a gas-powered car. Like they're just 2 different machines.
And there's also like password protection and all sorts of things. But Zach, there's one iPad.
Oh, interesting.
That's used a lot now for Knox's stuff.
Okay.
But somehow is still connected to my. Listen, you guys know me in the cloud. Like, I have not enabled that ever.
Yeah,
okay?
You have to download all your porn.
That is not, and it's like somehow like FaceTime is still going off on my iPad. And I'm just like, okay, that's not great. And sometimes, Zach will need to do like a podcast or an audio recording thing. And so I'm like his engineer and he uses my home setup.
Okay.
So, but because of the
software,
you close
all the tabs before that happens.
Yeah, of course.
Got it. Good to know. The way that the Dickinson character comes into Nicole Kidman's character's life is because there's an internship program at this robotics company where she is the CEO. I agree with you that I think some of the storytelling frameworks on the edges of the movie feel a little bit underdeveloped.
It's also like, I get it. Okay, robotics and
we are all robots going through the day-to-day of our life.
Yes. But it was like, and there was also some attempt to comment on it's very Amazon-like style warehouse, and there was a lot of like camera-facing corporate PR speak soullessness.
Yeah, it's represented, but it's kind of just gestured at. It's not really explored.
Yeah, I get it.
There is a kind of critical power dynamic between her character and her assistant that is essentially like a plot device that allows us to get to the conclusion of the story. But this intern comes along, and Harris Dickinson, who is an actor you've expressed serious affection for, but who is, embarking on like a pretty cool career. Star of Beach Rats, star of Triangle of Sadness, star of The Iron Claw. He's had good taste. He's become one of the tall British A24 boys.
Yeah, but they're
collecting and amassing them.
He is notably tall. Like even in that first, you see him on the street and he has his like topo bag, like Chris Ryan style, incredible stuff. Big look for Chris Ryan. And then
let's not compare Chris Ryan to Harris Dickinson, just for Chris's sake, please.
but then he's like herded around with a group of interns, and my guy is 2 heads taller than anyone else.
Yeah.
Like, it's, that is, again, the point of the movie, that he is supposed to stand out a little, but like, LOL.
He's costumed perfectly. He's wearing basically like either hand-me-down Brooks Brothers or J. Crew clothes.
Yeah.
Doesn't button the top button on his shirt.
Yeah.
It's like it appears to be the first time he's worn his tie since his first communion. He looks like a kid, even though Harris Dickinson, I think, is like 26 or 27 at this point. And they meet on the street because a dog is about to attack Nicole Kidman's character in the street. And Harris Dickinson's character, before they've entered the office building, subdues the dog with a cookie.
Right. Just the crowd's part on a busy, like on a New York, what is that?
Sidewalk, yeah.
Yeah, where is it? It's sort of like
Midtown, Bryant Park,
okay.
maybe something like that.
It
was in an area where the crossing signals give you the wait.
It
wait,
seemed like Lower
wait
Broadway
note.
because I think there was like a sign that said Lower Broadway.
Okay.
Anyway.
Exterior shot in New York City. How wonderful.
And then, so the things part, and then there he is. And it's a vicious dog. And I did think that this movie very quickly got right dog safety and owners' irresponsibility, but that's a separate conversation.
When I watched it a second time with my wife, and when we watched it, I said to her, this is probably my most perverse takeaway from this movie, but I think we should get a dog. I've been wanting to get a dog for a very long time, but there's a very memorable image at the end of the film.
Yes.
Featuring Harris Dickinson and a dog.
Yes. Okay.
But not for the purposes that are portrayed in the movie, just because I love a tamed dog. And yeah, I mean, they very quickly
Here we go.
encounter one another at work. He applies. They have a follow-up conversation in the break room. He applies to her mentor program.
The break room's really good, where she's like, "Hey, make me a coffee," and then she's like, clearly from the minute she sees him with the dog is taken by him, but doesn't want to engage and is like trying to be like, boss CEO, make me a coffee while I'm on the phone, which is like not normal CEO behavior, but whatever.
It's not something I do.
Yeah, it's not something. It's 2024.
I don't know if I've ever asked anyone who isn't Chris for a coffee at work.
I mean, or if you do, you're like, hey, are you going? Can you? Whatever. It's very brusque, and I think intentionally, and sort of a power thing. He does it, and then there's the exchange about the cookie, and she's like, "Do you always have a cookie on you?" And the way that he just like volleys back, like, does he say sometimes or yes?
He smirks and says, "Why? Do you want one?"
Yeah.
And the smirk is the revelation that the power exchange between these two characters will be basically the primary engine of the movie, and that the next thing that he asks her, which is so wonderful, where he just scolds her and says, "You shouldn't have coffee after noon." Mm-hmm. And how many have you had today? And she says, "That's none of your business." 7.
The Nicole Kidman timing on that is very special.
She's really good in this movie. I think one of the reasons why, the thing I like best about this movie in particular is it's a great star part for a star exploring some of their kind of external mythology. Nicole Kidman has been one of the most beautiful people on the planet for going on 40 years. She has emerged as like one of the signature stars of Hollywood. We just watched the Golden Globes last night. They mentioned that she has been nominated for 20 Golden Globes.
Right.
She is in the firmament. One thing that's cool about her as an actress, though, is that even though she has such glamour and is just so darn famous, she often takes on parts that kind of dismantle our expectations of her. This movie in particular, I think, dismantles something super cool, which is what does a powerful woman who needs to be presentable every day have to do to feel confident, to feel like they're successful, to feel like they're communicating what their role in the world is. And so when we see her interacting with Harris Dickinson's character, she's trying to control herself, but there's primal desire leaking out.
Right.
But the movie itself shows her getting Botox. It shows her going to audio therapy. It shows her going into the cryo chamber. It shows her trying to do the things that we in the outside world think Nicole Kidman probably does.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's like a fearless act, but it's a cool way to kind of gesture at, because even though Nicole Kidman isn't a CEO, she sort of has the same responsibilities. She has to speak in public. She has to represent something more meaningful and moral and forward thinking than maybe it really is. She has to make a lot of money, and she has to represent a kind of untouchable power. So this movie, like, it slots in really nicely there. And then the subtext or just the subterranean aspect of the movie is what all people, but especially powerful people, have, which is like desire.
Yeah.
To get the physical feeling and emotional feeling that they really want, but can't say out loud. So I love, it's a fun movie to think about in that way. I agree with you that there's some leaky parts of the storytelling and there were some underdeveloped parts, as you said. But for her, I just really liked watching her kind of go through the process of like allowing herself something and then taking it away from herself and then allowing it for herself and taking it away from herself. Because we hear this about powerful people all the time. What did you think about that part of the story?
Yes. Another part of Nicole Kidman's career that I noticed while preparing for the Hall of Fame, and you do kind of think about it, but when you're looking for patterns, I mean, she's not afraid of sex scenes on screen. She is not afraid of pretty uncomfortable, vulnerable, provocative scenes and exploring power and sex and like putting herself on the upsetting side of that a lot. And in a lot of ways, I mean, in a lot of places where she's like definitely having a sex scene, but or is she being sexually assaulted, or is she like the wife who is the only thing that she has is her sexual power? Or so this was an interesting continuation of what it means to be Nicole Kidman doing this on screen and what these scenes mean. And I actually did think the sex scenes as set pieces were like fascinating and really well filmed and memorable. You know, there's like the hotel scene there are two hotel scenes. There's the dog hotel.
The motel encounter at the beginning.
There is the fancy hotel, which I believe is the Carlisle.
Yes.
I don't know if it's the Carlisle, but it feels Carlisle-esque.
Like it.
There's the rave, where at first I was like, this is stupid and getting away from you. But then there's just something about watching the two of them in the strobe lights for an extended period of time and the physicality of Nicole Kidman. Like, she does not look cool. She does not look sexy. She is really examining or just going for it physically in a new way. And then also to your point, and it shows her getting Botox. It shows her a lot of things. As a physical performer, she lets herself go a little bit in this one. She looks her age. She's still the most beautiful person in the world, but you have to assume
there's tight close-ups on her face. Tight.
Yeah, but even like the lighting and the way that, what wrinkles you're allowed to see and what you're not allowed to see, like, is definitely a choice that an actor of her caliber and phase of life makes.
She gets to make that decision.
Yeah, and she's making it, and she's making it in like noticeable and interesting ways. So I thought that was cool, and I thought that the age stuff of it, to me was interesting, just because. I mean, all actresses who like have to age in front of the camera, as she has, like have that sort of public spoken or unspoken conversation, but hers has been somewhat spoken, so. It was cool.
No, I mean, it's often rumored about, and it's an interesting time for this movie to come along in the same year as The Substance, where that movie makes the metaphorical literal. And this movie is not that far from doing the same thing and confronting it. Both movies made by women, I think, who are like, I'm getting a little bit older. I'm into my 40s, and now this is something I have to think about quite often. I think the other thing, too, that is notable, and it's so interesting talking to Halina, because she's like, this is very much based on my experiences and how I feel.
Okay.
And the sexual nature of the relationship is like submissive domination.
Right.
And putting herself in that position as an actress on screen, and also the very amusing way in which Harris Dickinson plays the dom is really, really good.
Yeah, incredible. And they together, like, figured something out in terms of, like, it's palpable from the second that he's on the street, letting, the coffee, everything, are just like, wow, this is amazing. These two are really, like,
they have
working it out together.
And they have, like, there's a choreography that goes, I think, especially in that motel scene, where they're kind of like figuring out what they're going to do together for the first time. And the difference between this and other erotic thrillers, like I said, is this is not like a take your clothes off and thrust on top of me kind of movie.
No.
It's a totally different kind of sex scene that is shown a few different times. And the way that the characters are having orgasms is different than Sharon Stone does in Basic Instinct. And
even then, what Nicole Kidman does at the very beginning of this movie.
Yes, yes.
The sounds are quite different.
That's meant to be the sort of normie version of sex, which used to be the, whoa, can you believe this sex scene? And so there's something really interesting about that. And I agree. I think that their ability to make those scenes work, and then later the Carlisle scene too, where, she does strip down in that sequence, but she's sort of covering herself, and then she's just sort of embraced by him.
Right.
And it's not meant to be like, look at me. It's a different psychological portrayal of a sexual relationship.
They are playing off of each other and ping-ponging. Like that motel scene where they're figuring it out for the first time, and he is going from the dom to like a 23-year-old being like, I don't know what you want, to, no, I don't like it that way, to. And then she is like laughing and then hiding and then angry and then submissive, and it's in seconds.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing stuff. You wonder like how much of it is like written, how much of it is them in the room. Not that one is better than the other. It's just kind of like a fascinating creation because it is like two people really reacting to each other in real time.
Yep. Well, she particularly like after a conclusive moment in one of those scenes kind of just like collapses into him, and is a movie weirdly about like the warm embrace of transgression, I would say. Yeah. Like doing the wrong thing that makes me feel right.
And that like being okay.
Yes. And not being punished for that, not being criticized for it, but then being confronted because there were consequences to the things that they are doing together, being confronted by those consequences. I think one of the complicated parts of the movie, I don't want to spoil the ending of the movie or the way that it concludes, but there's something tidy about the way that it concludes, where sort of like we can have it all.
Yes.
I'm not. Maybe that is true. I guess it's not for me to judge, but for a movie that feels like it is constantly bumping up the edge of like, this could blow up your life, this could blow up your life. Maybe a good message is it doesn't have to blow up your life if you find a way to communicate honestly with the loved ones in your life. I don't really know. I guess for different people, it'll matters differently.
It is tidy, but it's also, it's not like you walk away being like, well, she's fundamentally a good person and she like got what she wanted. She's not a bad person, but
still a cunning CEO.
Yeah, and like decisions have been made, traits have things have been done where you're not like, wow, it's transgressive desire is like okay in consensual circumstances, and like we need to break out of the structures of like our expectations of women, and it can be okay. It's like, oh no, like some fucked up things happened. And
one small thing related to that I do like in the movie that isn't like, we don't spend too much time on it, but she has 2 young daughters in her marriage to Antonio Banderas' character. And it's clear that one of the daughters is like Antonio's character and one of them is like Nicole's character. Yeah. And she keeps recognizing these moments in her, I guess her elder daughter, that are like chilling to her, but also she makes her feel close to her daughter. Right. And they have this kind of frictive but deeply connected bond. And as parents, you see your kid do something and you're like, whoa, that is a me thing, or that is a my partner thing. And in particular,
or you get told repeatedly, hey, that's you.
Yeah, that's also something that happens. But this is a different version of it. It's with like a 19-year-old or whatever. I don't know how old that daughter is meant to be. And they don't totally circle the square on that part of the story, but it's something that a person in Nicole Kidman's character's experience would be feeling, would be seeing. Right. That I really liked.
There's also that fascinating, this scene after the rave where she comes home at like 4 a.m. And I don't know if she is like actually on something or
I assume
if she,
ecstasy.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you see her take it, but the performance she's given is like, she's just been at a rave.
Yep.
And then it's the daughter sitting at home at the counter being like, what's going on? I'm worried about you. Like, are you okay? Incredible Nicole Kidman. I'm on drugs, but I'm trying to pretend it's okay. But also I'm slightly liberated by this. But just an amazing scene.
A nice callback to Eyes Wide Shut and lecturing Tom Cruise in the bedroom while stoned out of their minds. What other scenes? I mean, I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the ordering the milk, which is something I will be doing to someone at some point sometime soon.
And then the good girl as he walks out. Really. But also her chugging the milk. Also, there is a tremendous amount of conversation at the table before of like, who sent you that milk? Don't drink the milk. I did find myself bumping against, not bumping, but being like, you guys are being so obvious throughout the movie. And that is actually paid off.
Well, okay, so at the end of the film,
yes.
This is a spoiler if you don't want to hear it. We'll try to talk to it really quickly, but I didn't totally get it. So I want you, maybe you can help me understand what was meant to be implied.
We'll try to figure it out together.
So at the very, very end of the movie, like things get sorted out, right? Like they figure out how to stay together as a couple, Banderas' character and Kidman's character.
Right.
Harris Dickinson's character gets shipped off to Japan to go work for was it Kawasaki? I can't even remember what company.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And another leader at the company who we previously seen get handed a coffee by Harris Dickinson earlier in the film is having a conversation with Nicole Kidman, and he says to her, he implies that like they could have a sexual tryst in the near future because his house is empty.
Right. And because he's like, I see that this is what you do now, sort of. He seems to imply that he knows what was going on.
So, but was that an implication that they had a relationship before and that she had done that, or just that everyone knew?
I think just everyone knew.
Slept with an intern so that maybe you would then sleep with me?
Yes. Yeah, I think he was trying to blackmail her because he implies that everyone knows, because there is another employee of the company who comes to her and is like, I know
who is also
what's going on.
Effectively blackmailed her.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I get, but that seemed a little forward on that gentleman's part. Obviously, we live in a culture where these terrible things happen. I'm not blind to that.
I agree. And that's where like some of the, that was kind of one of the two tiny moments, because she responds to it with this, like, don't speak to me that way. Like, you know, I'm a boss lady. Like, I'm the dom now speech, which like that's cool. You go, girl. But also like, it's one of those moments where you're like, like, okay, that's it? That's what we're.
I think one of the reasons why I failed to like jump out of my seat and applaud at the end of the movie, even though I had a really good time, was there were a couple sequences like that where I was like, what just happened?
Right.
What, like, it's not totally clear. And I wasn't sure if I was meant to say you go, girl, or not, or meant to be like, oh, wow, we all just live in the corporate hell, and our inability to escape these gender-based power structures is dooming us all. I honestly couldn't tell.
Yeah. And again, the corporate stuff I felt was in some ways like very like well observed. And so, I mean, it is hell, and is also, you know, just kind of like a metaphorical stand-in for women are expected to present as like, you know, perfect and in control, and we're supposed to, you know, like my generation has been like, you can do anything and you must do anything and you can have it all and you will have it all and it will all look, you know, perfect on the outside. And I haven't slept in 3 months. I actually haven't slept in a year. That's, you know, they you can't sleep while you're pregnant, and then they definitely don't let you sleep afterwards.
It's gonna be okay. I got you.
It's gonna be okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. So it seemed to me. And that and so implied in all of that is like you're supposed to assume all this power, you know, like women, we are all supposed to go girl at all times
and express it,
yeah. And so and so part of her desire was being like, that's so exhausting that like to actually not have to do all of that is, you know, is part of what turns her on. Is release. And so that the her coming back to her like, no, like I can do this when I need to, is like, I guess some sort of, it's not redemptive, but I guess she's like turned the mask back on, you know?
Yeah. I wonder if that is repression or not. It doesn't, I guess it ultimately doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie that I've seen this movie compared to quite often is Secretary. Have you seen Secretary?
I have. Yeah. I mean, well,
movie?
and like the motel scene, there is like a beautiful, like, wide shot that you immediately do think of Secretary.
Yes, the Maggie Gyllenhaal and James Spader, 2002, basically like a black comedy as well, about power dynamics in the workplace and sex.
Speaking of Secretary, just this is like a total random aside, but Jesse Eisenberg was on, as part of his press tour, he was on Table Manners, the podcast with Jesse Ware, which I recently learned no one under 30 who knows who Jesse Ware is, and like, educate yourselves, open the schools. But he was telling a story about taking his now wife on a date to see Secretary. And he like didn't really know that Secretary was going to be about what it is.
Sure. Yeah.
And I believe his wife was so uncomfortable that she just put her coat over her head throughout the thing. And he says, and then I was like, wow, she's so weird. I want to marry her, which I thought was a really romantic story.
Heartwarming tale.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope an aspiring young writer, director, actor is currently seeing Babygirl with their future wife and making a happy life for themselves. Yeah, I guess one other thing I want to mention is the music in this movie is amazing and kind of
good.
Carries certain parts of the movie. You know, the obviously father figure George Michael's song, the kind of Harris Dickinson shirtless writhing.
He's wearing the tank top and the chain, and I do think like Harris Dickinson's chain is like the new Paul Mescal normal people chain.
Okay,
you know?
All right.
Like I guess Babygirl isn't wide enough for those meme accounts to have started.
Is it just a gold chain? What is it? Does it have a pendant on it?
No, it's
okay.
no, it's not.
He's
Andrew
not a Christ
Garfield.
follower?
Yeah, no, it's not Andrew. Oh, that was some good stuff. No, it's just very powerful. It hangs well.
In Excess, Never Tear Us Apart, I think is the song that hits when their affair starts really hitting hard.
Yeah.
Robin's Dancing on My Own, which has been used quite often in the last 10
sure,
years.
But it's like
feels appropriate for this song.
It is a generational touch point for women my age now.
Yes.
The original Robin, not whatever the Phillies are playing after they win games. Like, what are we gonna? It's not your problem.
The Phillies play Dancing on My Own.
Yes, but a cover. Bobby, help me out here. I know that you're a Mets fan.
No, this was a big thing a couple years ago. It started with the Red Sox, actually, and then Kyle Schwarber came to the Phillies and brought it with him. They play the I forget his name, Callum something, cover of Dancing on My Own and not the original. And I think that is why the Phillies
Is it too much to ask that, one, we learned to hit in October, and two, we play the original Robin version of Dancing on My Own?
It is too much to ask.
Yes.
Okay.
It's concerning me a little bit that you're saying we with the Phillies, and it just hurts my soul.
I had to renounce the Braves.
Yeah.
I had to, and that's fine. That's okay.
Just for the record, a Braves, Phillies, Dodgers fan over here. So your takes are invalid.
No. Listen, let me say once again, I renounce the Atlanta Braves. We had a good run in the 90s, but like I'm not welcome in my own home if I'm a Braves fan.
Yeah.
And the way that you guys look at me, the way that Chris looks at me, the way that Zach looks at me, anytime listen, I have renounced them.
Must be nice.
They moved to Cobb County, which I do not support, and I was like, I'm out. So yes, for the happiness of my son and husband, and my other son, once he learns what a ball is,
we'll be bringing him into Mets Hive. I'll have you know.
that would be tough.
We will.
Okay,
we will. Bob. Will we do it?
Would Zach set it on fire if I just start sending Mets onesies to your house? What would he do?
So one time well before I was pregnant with Knox, just the concept of children, I made a joke that I was like, I'm going to raise our children to be Cowboys fans just to mess with you. And Zach both got so angry and almost started crying in a way that it was a combination I hadn't seen before and haven't seen since. It was so, and I learned, that kind of rare emotional response taught me we're not joking around. So both my sons, well, Knox knows how to say go birds. Sai doesn't know how to talk. But that's how I show my love. Okay. This is what I do. I'm pretty mean, but I can be a Phillies fan.
I wish you guys well.
I'm not
household.
a Sixers fan. We need baseball to start again. This is just excruciating.
2 more months. Very quickly, awards chances for Babygirl.
Nicole Kidman is probably the only person in the running at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe she'll get it instead of Angelina Jolie. Maybe she'll get the 5th spot.
Seems possible. One thing we forgot to say during our Golden Globes conversation is Marianne Jean-Baptiste was also snubbed by the Golden Globes.
Of course, that's right. And that
she's
does
also,
seem,
I feel like that's going to happen.
I do think that that's going to happen.
And so, honestly,
okay, so
if Angelina Jolie and Nicole Kidman go out and Fernanda Torres and Marianne Jean-Baptiste go in, I wouldn't be stunned.
I wouldn't be stunned either. I do, with respect to the people of the Brazil and their enthusiasm for their cultural product, the Fernanda Torres Golden Globes history
We got that confirmed.
Brazil, lots of Brazilian voters.
There were a lot of Brazilian voters in the new academy that votes for the
That's just something
Globes.
to keep in your head.
Yes. Fernando Torres feels actually less likely to me than Marianne Jean-Baptiste. I could be wrong about that, but that's my gut on.
But so Mikey Madison for sure. Demi Moore for sure. Mm-hmm. Who else? I'm forgetting.
Let's just say Marianne Jean-Baptiste.
Marianne Baptiste. I think that's correct. I got to see that movie.
Let's see who else is on our list here.
Oh, Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty guaranteed.
Carlos Sofia Gascon.
Yeah, I think that's also happening too.
I agree.
Okay. So
it would be interesting if Nicole Kidman and Angelina Jolie got blanked.
It would.
And would also, I think, signal what's increasingly been happening, which is like star power is not really what drives a lot of this stuff, and star power is certainly not what drives the wins in these categories.
That's true. This movie is still
it's doing solid business. It's made like almost $20 million already, which for a movie this size, Nicole Kidman has been in some successful movies, but I would not say is a classic box office draw.
I would say that this has like anecdotally among the women in my life, it's been like, oh, have you seen Babygirl yet? When can I see Babygirl? When is Babygirl coming out? Yeah. Like both from people who do follow these things and people who, text me when the Golden Globes started being like, how is it the Golden Globes again? So
part of a coordinated effort, I think, on the part of A24 to one, they hit a lot of doubles this year. Mm-hmm. They had a home run with Civil War, but you had We Live in Time, we had Heretic, now this movie, then The Brutalist. Mm-hmm. A lot of movies are going to do like pretty good business,
right?
And that middle that we're always clamoring for.
So they're
also
finding their audiences,
and also finding female audiences. We Live in Time was huge with female moviegoers, and this movie obviously would be too.
Unfortunately, I'm never going to be able to see that one, but you liked it.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I mean, it's Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh with a 3-year-old.
Yeah, so, I can't do it.
It's pretty relevant to my interests.
Yeah. So, but Nicole Kidman also always finds a way. You're
betting on her.
Well, I'm not betting her. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I think I did bet on her for the Oscar bet.
That exercise, because we did it in like on September 8th, is so fucked. Like we've made so many bad picks in there, but it'll be fun to go back and look at it in March. Let's talk more about Nicole.
Okay. She's really good at acting.
She's fantastic, and it's weird that we haven't. We haven't really focused our energy on her on the show too much, because she is one of the few big stars who has not stopped working, and in some cases has been doing excellent work. It's just that a lot of it has moved to television, and she hasn't stopped making movies. In fact, she makes more movies than any big star in the last quarter century. She has made 47 movies since 2000.
Yeah.
In addition to starring in at least 4 TV series and doing guest spots on other shows. The thing about her is she fucking works, man. She is present all of the time. In some cases, she works with really audacious and interesting filmmakers. She's one of the only female stars that works hard to work with female directors.
Yes, she made a point of it.
She is a really exemplary, contemporary Gen X movie star. She puts her money where her mouth is in a lot of ways. Not all of her stuff works, though. She makes a lot of stinkers because she takes a lot of chances. And then she tends to dot it with, I think, pretty smart supporting work in popcorn movies.
Right.
Your Golden Compasses, your Aquamans, your things that are sort of like, I'm always on a red carpet of some note because I am playing some superhero's mom.
And she'll do the work also. She shows up for the photo shoot. She shows up for the interview.
Yes.
She's good at giving just the right amount of quotes. A recent interview about how Keith Urban bought her this fancy car and she hated it and she just drives her Subaru around instead. Really good. Stayed with me.
Just like me.
Yeah.
What is she good at as an actor?
So this is going to reserve, holding a little back. Not and she can still go for it, and she can still be big, and she can still do silly performances, comedic performances. It's not quite chilliness, and it is not quite she's not subdued, but you lean in with her because There's something that she's not giving to you,
right.
even when she's like putting it all out on the screen,
right?
Until she does, and that's kind of the power of the thing. At some point, she like completely lets go, but she's not. She works all the time and she does all sorts of projects, but she's not like a theater kid, if that makes any sense. She's not even. Charisma is not what you would say about her, even though there is like an energy that's pulling you in, but it's not. What's it called? Is it entropy when it all like comes into you? Entropy.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think she is extremely good at having like a domineering quiet because she's so tall and so striking that if she's in the center of the frame, she can't hide. But she's not an actor who plays to the back of the crowd. She doesn't like rattle. She doesn't speechify when she's performing. Doesn't mean she's quiet, but she like you said, she knows how to pick her spots. I think she also had this interesting kind of, I don't know, trajectory, I guess you would call it, across her career where the first like 7 or 8 things she does in Australia are mostly comic. And so she develops kind of rom-com-y chops, but she's almost like too beautiful in her 20s to be cast as Meg Ryan. So she starts taking on the girlfriend parts in movies like Far and Away and Days of Thunder, and her relationship with Tom Cruise then kind of powers some of that through. But then she uses that period from her like late 20s and early 30s to capitalize and to start making really complicated, interesting, dramatic roles.
Right.
And then at a certain point kind of circles back and is like, actually, just kidding. I'm in Bewitched and The Stepford Wives. I'm a comic actress. And then circles back and is like, I'm actually really into soapy stuff like Big Little Lies. Like she's kind of always moving around. She doesn't get stuck in one genre. She's just as comfortable in Dogville as she is in Nine Perfect Strangers. You know what I mean? Like she has like, she's not chameleonic as a performer, but she's chameleonic in terms of the setting that she fits into, which is a real gift. I mean, most performers don't bend themselves. They actually do the opposite. They sort of think to themselves like, what is my core strength? I mean, her ex-husband is sort of like, in the last 15 years has been like, I'm good at running and being serious and executing missions.
Right.
And has stuck pretty tightly to that. And she doesn't do that, which I think is really admirable and really cool.
Yeah, she really does work all the time. She just seems to say yes to stuff in a way that is really cool. I mean, I guess like she has the ability, and there are a lot of women actors who like grow up in front of Hollywood and then they make it past 40 and they're just kind of like, well, I don't know how long I'll get to keep working, so I'll just keep saying yes. But in her case, it feels, I guess she realized she needed to create more opportunities for herself, but she's just taken all of them all at once. It's very cool.
I don't know. Is some of it, I'm trying to figure out, because there's a period basically between 2008 and 2019 where she's made a bunch of movies I haven't seen.
Okay.
And a bunch of movies that had like very limited distribution or that in the parlance of blank check do not exist.
Right.
And there's a thriller with Nicolas Cage called Trespass that I just haven't seen. And I don't know why I missed it, but I missed it. And it doesn't seem like it has any huge reputation. There's one even later after that I'll get to that I want to talk to you about. I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe you have. But it's one of those things where I'm like, this feels like it's imagined. But
Secret
it has
in Their Eyes?
No.
Oh.
Even
more
bigger
imagined
and
than that?
smaller than that. So I think that one of the consequences of working all the time is she's not a rare object. You know, it's not like everybody gather around, the new Nicole Kidman movie is coming out.
Yeah.
Because she puts out 5 in a year sometimes.
Right.
So she doesn't hold that same level of, oh my gosh, Brad Pitt is at the party, or oh my goodness, it's Meryl Streep. You know what I mean?
I think she's starting to, but do you know why? Because of the AMC thing, which we need to talk about.
We do.
So that is 2021?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
the advertising campaign for AMC theaters.
Right, because which quickly becomes like an internet sensation as well, and like a movie-going sensation. People go to say it along with her. And
it started out as mockery because of the deep sincerity with which that commercial is being communicated at the beginning of movies.
Sure.
And it felt like within minutes, everyone was like, actually, no, this rocks. This makes me feel like I'm in the place where I like to be, which is going to see movies. And then you get to be a part of it. Like, people are still to this day in theaters in Los Angeles clapping and happy and speaking along to that
When
ad.
I saw it for the first time in 2024, when they introduced a abbreviated version, an abridged version with new films, Creed was cut out. And I was like, where's Creed?
You did say that. I was with you.
Yeah. And then I was like, they edited it. They made it shorter, and at this point I'm like, if I'm going to go, I'm going to sit through it. It's sort of like saying, like our fathers before you like do whatever.
Well, there's obviously a long history of this at the movies. The let's all go to the lobby, the sort of like pre-movie experience that is non-trailer is baked in. And for whatever reason, AMC, which has been like a failing business for the last 10 years, still kind of landed on this wonderful, weird, awkwardly sincere.
But so and like
promo.
a little camp. Yeah. So I think she becomes like a little bit of a pop cultural
figure. Silver sequin suit.
Yes. Yeah. And when we were gonna recreate that for the Ringer, I was gonna try to find a suit like that.
Did you find it?
No, I didn't get that far. Okay. But it's still available. If we want to do it, I could.
You're in your suit era. Now's the time.
Yeah, that's true. But that changes everyone's understanding to her as like a person, because she's doing that as Nicole Kidman.
Yes. And as an ambassador of movies.
Yeah.
Which is ironic given how much television she does.
Yeah, but I don't watch that being like, oh great, yeah, Nicole Kidman is defending cinema. I'm like, Nicole Kidman is trying to she's getting what I hope was a giant paycheck that bought her 45 Subarus to prop up like Adam Aaron's GameStop, experiment. Yeah. So that's fine. Go see movies in theaters, everyone. And be responsible with your investments.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We all agree with that.
To me, it's more about, it's like Nicole Kidman. It's her meme era, for lack of a better word. But you need that in this day and age.
You do. And I'm sure she had no idea that would be the outcome of this, but now she has leaned into it.
No, there's a great interview where someone asks her about it, and in her real time, she's like, wait, what? And her publicist is like, oh yeah, it's a thing. And she's informed that people are reciting this. I don't know. But again, she seems game, She does. Even the things that she doesn't quite expect. But again, that has burnished Nicole Kidman in a different way. So that I do now think when people watch, whether it's like junky Netflix show or Babygirl, you are watching, you're like, oh, it's Nicole Kidman who has been in my life now for 5 years. Yeah.
I was just watching her 4 favorites on Letterboxd. And
what are they?
When she, I can't remember.
They were good. That Clueless is the first one.
Clueless was the first one. All 4 of them were good. They were all good picks. I love Letterboxd, but these people are getting tipped off beforehand that they're going to get asked by Letterboxd, so they're prepping. They're not coming up with them off the top of their head.
Why wouldn't you prep? I think it would be
because if you're a true ambassador of cinema, you don't have to prep.
I'm disgusted by you. No. Listen, you're not doing your job as a person who walks red carpets if you don't know that question's coming and you're not ready. And you should absolutely fire your publicist.
I agree.
Yeah.
She did a great job. I can't remember what her 4 were, but they were good.
I got them right here.
What are they, Bob?
Clueless, The Piano Teacher, Piano, and A Woman Under the Influence.
Yeah.
Sick.
Great picks.
Amazing.
She also did the whole I only get 4?
Yes,
so hard.
It was also delivered via publicist 12 minutes before they encounter the Letterboxd microphone. But when she saw them, she went, Letterboxd! We love Letterboxd! And her eyes are bursting out of her head. She knows how to play the game. She's a really good celebrity. Awards history. She's been nominated for 5 Oscars. She's won once.
Okay.
Her nominations are for Moulin Rouge, The Hours, Rabbit Hole, Being the Ricardos, and Lion. Her win is for The Hours. I would argue that these are not even close to her best performances.
That was a watch bit from 10 years ago. Yelling Lion, the movie, DJ Khaled being like, there's my lion! Lion! Yeah, anyway.
She's won 6 Golden Globes.
Sure.
Golden Globes don't really mean anything.
Tell that to Jennifer Lopez.
Did you... That's the thing, is when you see Jennifer Lopez longing, what she really longs for is Nicole Kidman's stature.
Sure.
How do I be an elevated celebrity that is beloved, but is also celebrated as an artist.
But also, I need to make my own 40-minute music video with Jane Fonda and Post Malone reading the signs of the zodiac.
You Post Malone head?
He's very, very charming in the documentary. Like, you should actually, everyone should watch that documentary. It's honestly riveting stuff. But he comes in to film his bit in her music video, and he is just charming her, like, instantly, flirting with her, really good. It really converted
He's
me.
really on quite a 5-year run here.
I know one Post Malone song, I think.
White Iverson?
Yeah, that's it. But sure, good for him.
Yeah, he's doing well. He was. It was fascinating to watch him stand beside Beyonce at the Christmas Day football game.
I haven't watched that yet.
It was good.
That's what everyone said. I mean, I saw clips on the internet, but my child had his second ear infection, so
yeah, not ideal. But as with all those Beyonce productions, like this is good.
Yeah,
she knows what she's doing. Okay, did you look at the box office, the top 10 for her? For like what are her highest grossing movies?
Not until right this second, okay, so, but LOL.
We can't do the game of me asking you what they would have been. But
sorry.
The Nicole Kidman top 10 highest grossing movies worldwide is a hilarious list. I'll read the list to you right now. Number 10, Cold Mountain. Sure, makes sense. Number 9, Moulin Rouge. Big sensation. Totally makes sense. Number 8, The Others. Secretly a very big movie when it came out. Yeah. So far, so good. Number 7, Just Go With It.
Sure, yeah.
Adam Sandler movie that she makes a memorable appearance in. Number 6, Australia.
Right.
A movie that was not very big here, but was very big overseas. Number 5, Paddington.
That's right.
A movie you love. She plays the villain. Number 4, Batman Forever. Okay, makes sense. But that movie's not very good, but okay. Number 3, The Golden Compass.
Those movies were big. And this was at a time when they were trying to make it happen. It wasn't very good. But have you read those books?
I haven't. No.
They're good.
I probably will with my daughter, would be my guess.
Okay.
Number 2, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
That's the one that came out like a year and a half ago?
Yes, I enjoyed. No, it was, I think, 14 months ago. I enjoyed it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
14 months is like almost a year and a half.
Sure.
Okay.
Plus 4 months.
Math corner.
Yeah. I think it was legit December 2023. It was the conclusion of the DC.
Right. Listen, like I'm just looking ahead, new year,
Okay. Yeah, new you. And then number 1 was Aquaman.
Yeah. Oh, so who is she in the Aquaman universe?
She's Aquaman's mom.
Oh,
she
sick.
is an Atlantean who comes to the shore and fucks a fisherman.
Okay, thank you. That is what I was going to ask.
Yep.
But then does she live on the shore? Does she live?
She lives
on
in
the
Atlantis, but she pops
What's
in.
Up with
Earth
it? So is Atlantis? It's not underwater yet, so it's just a.
What do you mean?
I don't really know the.
He's an Aquaman. He goes in the water.
Yeah. So is Atlantis in the water?
Yeah.
So she lives underwater.
Yes.
But she's a human.
No, she's a mer person.
Oh, she goes to the shore.
I don't have the terminology here. This is kind of a Midnight Boys question.
She's the water-based
correct
Jean, and then the dad. Who's the dad? I'm sure this is a spoiler.
Timur Morrison, the actor who played Boba Fett.
That doesn't mean anything to me. But like, what is his life like? He's a human?
Out there fishing.
He's a human.
He's literally just a guy.
So she fucks a fisherman. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. And they make a magical creature that becomes Jason Momoa.
Is she related to Triton?
I believe you're thinking of the Little Mermaid.
Well, or Poseidon.
It's not really that mythology. It's
okay,
kind
but
of like
it is a little bit
baked
because
into
DC is borrowing from all of that stuff all of the time.
It's kind of soft baked into it.
Is she like the sister? Like is
the sister of who?
Of Poseidon.
No, I can't recall who the. Oh, Javier Bardem is the king.
Yeah.
Of Atlantis, I think. Who is? Let's take a look at Aquaman.
Okay.
This is really worth our time as we have to go through this person's entire filmography. Or maybe was Dolph Lundgren the king? This is all so confusing. Javier Bardem was King Triton in The Little Mermaid.
Yes. Yeah.
Not in this movie.
Yeah. Those behind the scenes of him filming that are in the water tank are quite something.
Well, Patrick Wilson played Orm.
Okay.
He was known as the Ocean Master. That was my favorite performance in that movie.
Sort of like the air boss.
Yes. I don't know. Maybe there was not. Nicole Kidman was Atlanta, the Queen of Atlantis, mother of Arthur and Orm. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't have a husband of any kind.
Yeah.
Is she a single mom?
I mean, maybe.
Wow.
Speaking but it's sort of
you
like,
go, girl.
So if she's the descent, like if
This is why you should have joined me for this episode. You bailed on me on this one. I remember very vividly. I think the first Aquaman movie episode I did with David Shoemaker.
I think I maybe wasn't invited. Because, like, sometimes you don't think I'm going to be a good hang. But I ask the important questions about underwater monarchies, you know?
Let's pivot to Nicole Kidman's career. She's made so many movies. This is going to be
I'm going to be
hard.
really honest. So I did my best to prep for this, but when I, like, finally sat down, I didn't remember 45 movies. And I was like, oh, okay. We're not going to get through all of them.
I mean, for starters, the first 2, 4, 6 movies she makes are in Australia, and I haven't seen them.
Okay.
They're mostly romantic comedies. She's usually playing supporting parts. Her character is often on the VHS box. But throughout the 80s, before her big breakthrough, these are relatively small films. So they're all going to be read. The titles of those movies are Bush Christmas, BMX Bandits, which many people joke about now that she was starred in a movie called BMX Bandits, Willis and Burke, Wind Rider, The Bit Part, and Emerald City. Maybe some Australians are listening. I know we have an Australian contingent of listeners.
Oh, we do?
Oh, absolutely.
Can we go to Australia?
I don't know. Whatever.
Can we go? Remember,
you can go to Australia if you want to.
Eternal summer, you know? So we're going to spend, it's summer there right now.
Sure. You can go and you can
Next
report
January,
back.
Let's do all of January and February.
Okay. You want to do the awards race?
Oh, right. That's tough. Like both time-wise and, you know, school is obviously
If Australia would like to invite the big picture to its wonderful continent, we would love to come and celebrate films. We'll find a reasonable time to do so, hopefully not in the dead of winter. And maybe we'll get a chance to see BMX Bandits.
Not in the dead of winter there.
Yes.
In the dead of winter here.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
1989, Dead Calm. This is her big breakthrough performance in a very small thriller, directed by Philip Noyce, co-starring Sam Neill and Billy Zane.
Billy Zane
as
a menace on the water.
A madman. Yes, exactly. Sort of preparing for his role in Titanic. All 3 of them are electrifying in this movie. This movie is great.
Yeah.
If you have not seen Dead Calm, I would highly recommend it. In the spirit of the Hall of Fame and all my shtick about the breakthrough,
you like to do
this is one where I feel like at a minimum it needs to be yellow, and it feels pretty green to me.
To your shtick about like the breakthrough performance is really her international, her Hollywood breakthrough is Days of Thunder,
which comes 1 year later,
and that is obviously she plays like the love interest who is a doctor in Daytona.
Yes.
But she's also Australian and is just there to be like, you're a great Tom Cruise.
Yes.
So it's
Cole Trickle.
Yeah, despite obviously that's
where Cole Trickle's from.
Where?
Eagle Rock, California.
She is?
No, he is. His character is from Eagle Rock.
Cole is. Yes, okay, sure. Yeah. Listen, all the greats started in Eagle Rock.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ben,
many people are saying.
Matt, Barry, Obama.
Yeah.
Me.
You didn't start in
I
Eagle
didn't
Rock,
start
but
there,
I hear you.
but my
Nor
son,
did any of those people.
But my sons, yeah, sure. You know, but like it was formative. Days of Thunder, it's important to her tabloid and her celebrity thing, but I agree that Dead Calm is a more exciting.
It's one of her, Days of Thunder is one of her biggest movies, and obviously it kicks off her relationship with Tom, but for her, I don't think it's a Hall of Fame movie.
I agree.
Should we yellow it just for the purposes of this discussion?
Sure.
Okay. So Dead Calm and Days of Thunder will be yellowed. 1991's Flirting, which is a film in which she plays a high school girl, an Australian production, John Dugan, her Tendiwe Newton, and her best friend Naomi Watts. This is a pretty good movie, a very enjoyable kind of dramedy that in most people's careers you would be like, this is yellow. We have so many movies to go through that it's hard, but I do want to just cite, I think Flirting is going to be red, but it is a pretty good movie. 1992, Far and Away. Ron Howard.
You skipped Billy Bathgate.
Oh, Billy Bathgate. Robert Benton's gangster drama starring Dustin Hoffman. I believe she was nominated for a Golden Globe for her performance in this movie. Roger Ebert famously located her sense of humor in his review of this movie. It is way too long and overstuffed and not very good. So I would say it's red.
What a cast, though.
Insane.
Dustin Hoffman, Nicole Kidman, Lauren Dean, Bruce Willis, Stephen Hill, Stanley Tucci, Steve Buscemi. Just Maura Kelly I see down here. Okay. It's not going in.
Big, fussy Hollywood production that didn't totally land.
Yeah.
Some people like it. I'm not a big
Far
fan.
and Away.
Far and Away.
Our Irish representatives, speak on it.
This movie's not that good, so it's tough.
Not that good. I rewatched it last night. I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I rewatched part of it. What are we doing?
Yeah, this is a tough one. So Tom Cruise is a bare knuckle boxer who is traversing the land trying to make a better life for he and his partner.
Yeah, I would not say that his Irish accent really lands.
No, neither. I think they're actually weirdly both miscast in this movie.
Yeah, she's not bad.
Yeah, it's fine.
At the end, he rides the horse, shades of future Tom Cruise. He's just going so fast for a very long time. That's
I haven't
cool.
seen this in a really long time, but I remember when I first saw it, I did not like it.
No,
and I'm predisposed to liking a movie like this for a variety of reasons.
Well, but it's sort of like it's like fake epic. I mean, at the end, they just do like this giant it's called a land race, and it is like Cruise for 5 minutes just riding, as fast as he possibly can with tons of other people, and you're like, wow, we used to spend money and make movies.
That's true. Something you do see in a lot of her movies here is an extraordinary production value. Yeah. 1993's Malice, with a screenplay by Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah.
This is the Alec Baldwin "I Am God" speech.
Sure.
This is George C. Scott and Nicole Kidman in an erotic thriller.
Yes.
A nasty little erotic thriller.
Absolutely nuts.
Extremely fun movie. Is it a good movie?
I don't know if it's a good movie, but it's, I mean...
You think it's important for her?
Well, I mean, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Malice, fast forward.
Okay. I don't even remember. You're going to reveal the ending?
No, it hinges on her.
Okay.
And even that gives a lot of it away, and that there's there's more going on there than just being the doctor in the, NASCAR movie.
Yeah.
And that is something, and it subverts your expectations of what she's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, sort of absurdly. But
no, it's a very entertaining little movie. It's yellow. I agree. It's definitely yellow. It did well at the box office. It puts her in like a different kind of class as an actress. Okay, I'll go yellow. 1993's My Life, which we recently discussed on our Michael Keaton Mount Rushmore episode.
Yeah, I watched this while pregnant. Why? Why did you do that to me?
This was Michael Keaton is dying, so he's capturing the final days of his life for his unborn child.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Listen,
fun stuff.
I didn't make it's.
She's the wife.
Yeah,
as she many times is.
She's nice.
Cast as the wife.
Not
This is Red.
Yeah.
1995 Batman Forever. She plays Chase Meridian, who is of course the damsel in distress to Val Kilmer's Batman. This is the Batman with who is the villain? Two-Face is the villain in this movie. Two-Face and the Riddler, I believe.
I mean, don't ask me. I did give
Jim Carrey's the Riddler.
A child in my life a Batman Lego, Batman Joker Lego for Christmas this year. So, I'm part of the problem now. I think he was very happy.
Wife took my daughter to Target the other day and she was looking at the toys and my wife said you could have one thing under $5. And the one thing that she chose was a Batmobile.
Wow, under $5?
Yeah. Well, it was just Christmas.
That's true. No, not that she wasn't allowed to spend more.
Okay.
Just that it was the Batmobile is under $5.
Oh, it was a Hot Wheel.
Oh, I see. Okay.
A Batmobile Hot Wheel.
Okay.
Okay. Batman Forever, I think important to her visibility as a movie star, but I don't think it's really a performance anyone cares about, right?
Okay. I don't.
So Red. Yeah. Yes, Red?
Red, sure. Yeah.
Have you seen Batman Forever?
Yes, but I didn't revisit it and I don't remember. Okay. I saw all the Batmans. This is where Chris O'Donnell comes in, right?
No, that is Batman and Robin. He is the titular Robin.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I didn't see
Also, Alicia
this
Silverstone is Batgirl.
That I definitely saw.
Yeah, that's Batman and Robin.
Okay, and that's George Clooney.
Yes.
Also. But this is the Val Kilmer one, right?
This is the Val Kilmer one.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, great. 1995 To Die For. This is my favorite Nicole Kidman movie.
Yeah.
I think this is her best performance. It's a Gus Van Sant satire, I guess, about a real life story that was actually, I think there's a Max documentary that just came out last year about this real life story.
Okay.
About a woman who is an aspiring broadcaster and her relationship with her husband and her quest for fame. A movie that is like the great script that is played very amusingly by her, where she's sort of like giving away everything and nothing at the same time. And shows, I think, like her range as a performer.
It's comedy, but it's not
super
slapstick.
black comedy.
Yeah. It's really, it is messed up. And again, this thing of there is there are like 5 things going on here, and you're communicating all of them while also communicating what your character thinks they should communicate.
Yes.
So it's all time.
Really great movie. Great Joaquin Phoenix performance in this movie.
Yeah.
Great Matt Dillon performance. Great Ileana Douglas performance. Like just a really, really good movie. Casey Affleck. Yeah, very early Casey Affleck. That's going green. I think that's our first hard green. 1996, The Portrait of a Lady. So, where do you stand on Henry James?
I haven't actually read a lot of Henry James. Yeah,
I'm surprised
I don't
to hear
know
you
why.
say that.
Henry James is very important in the plot of Notting Hill, so I support that.
Okay. Turn to the Screw. Haven't read it.
No.
Okay.
I don't know why I skipped right over that in my education. Should I go back? Is that what I should do this year? I'll read Henry James if you read Bridget Jones.
No deal.
Okay.
The Portrait of a Lady, I think, is her leveraging some of her power and taste, some of her celebrity to get bigger movies made. This is a Jane Campion movie, her first collaboration, though not her last with Campion. And it is a simultaneously faithful but also experimental adaptation of the James novel that I rewatched and found extremely dull. Okay. The story itself is really cool, but I think it's kind of like meanders through a lot of its story. And it reminded me a little bit of reading Henry James, so I admit to some bias here where I just...
It's not your thing.
It's not my thing.
Yeah.
I think some people like it. I think it's one of Campion's worst movies, personally, and I'm a big fan of her movies. So I wouldn't put it in.
No, it's not particularly memorable.
Okay. 1997, The Peacemaker.
Yeah.
This is George Clooney's big, noisy post-ER feature film starring breakout / non-breakout.
Right, because it didn't
break out.
Didn't hit.
Didn't like utterly fail, but it didn't do what was expected of it.
I didn't revisit this.
I haven't seen it in forever.
And I wish that I had, because in some ways it's like I wish they would make a million Peacemakers right now. You know, like it is very much like, please make an international thriller starring George Clooney and Nicole Kidman. It doesn't matter if it's that good. Like I just would like to watch that every week.
Yep.
But I didn't rewatch it because I was like, I don't think this is going to go in. So I need to refocus my time.
It's not. I mean, she's playing, a doctor who's trying to avoid a nuclear disaster of some kind. And he's the heroic, I think, governmental figure working beside her. It's, standard action fare. It's just not that great. Okay, 1988, Practical Magic. I would not say this is like one of my big Nicole Kidman movies, but it is one of Nicole Kidman's big movies.
This is like has a very big following.
Cult, yes.
Yeah. Was this hold on. When is Hocus Pocus? Before that? Yeah, Hocus Pocus is before this, but it is maybe? Yeah, it's like slightly more grown up Hocus Pocus.
It's witches. It's Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock are witches.
And it's gals you like.
Yes. I think this is among her most beloved movies. So my impression is that this should go in, but I'm not a practical magic expert.
Well, let's yellow it.
Okay,
for now.
We'll yellow it for now.
But we see you, practical magic fans.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't want to be disrespect that
green.
So, yeah, we're going on a little run here. 1999, Eyes Wide Shut. Obviously, a masterpiece, Stanley Kubrick's Christmas movie about men and women failing to fuck properly and so creating enormous discontent between one another.
Did you see, not just to make this about like our friends, but so you did one of your little stacks?
I did for Nicole.
Yeah,
yes.
And did you see like my best friend Katie was just like eyes wide shut, eyes wide shut, eyes wide shut in the comments? Like, Katie, I got you. Okay. Also, you can text me.
I did see that. Yes. Obviously, Eyes Wide Shut is going in. I mean, for Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, a very complicated movie in a variety of ways. Yes. A movie that obviously
the beginning of the end.
Yes.
Well, we don't know the beginning of our understanding.
Presumably, the incredible amount of attention that was put on this movie and their relationship. The fact that its production was so elongated.
Right.
That it's the last thing that Kubrick made. He died before the movie was released. The suspicions of how it had been edited and what was taken in and put out of the movie. And then the fact that it didn't become a widely acclaimed film. In fact, was heavily criticized upon its release.
You guys were wrong.
Obviously a fascinating, gorgeous, confusing, wonderful movie. Love Eyes Wide Shut. Automatically, and particularly Nicole Kidman's performance is awesome in this movie. She's so alluring, so mysterious, and also so vulnerable and open. And a nice little beginning of the capstone to Babygirl.
Yes.
They're very much in conversation with each other. Okay. 2001 Moulin Rouge.
Green.
This is...
Practical...
This is...
Okay.
And I welcome the hate. The most annoying movie ever made.
It's a horrible take. It's a horrible take.
This movie fucking sucks. I watched it again last night, and I was like, who, what, how? I know why it's loved, and I know that it's loved, and I know that I'm sharing an opinion that people will hate.
Hold this feeling.
Uh-huh.
Bottle it.
Uh-huh.
And know that this is how I feel listening to you talk, about so many things. I don't care. How old was I in 2001? I was 17 years old.
Uh-huh.
Elephant Love Song. You are there and you were 17 and you know, or you were not there and you don't know. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. I'm aware that this plays like Wicked played to me for a huge number of people, but I'm telling you, I was there. And
but with
it was
turn of the 20th century France singing Smells Like Teen Spirit in a can. I mean,
listen,
kill me. Literally shoot me in the face. This movie sucks, guys. It's fucking horrible. We're going to look back on this and be like, what were we doing?
No, we're already looking back and just being like, it does require a lot of chutzpah to just build the whole movie around just Roxanne being the big... It's fine. I loved it.
I know people love it. I know. I don't want to take their joy from them. It's definitely going in. It's a huge box office success. She's nominated for an Academy Award. She's very good in the movie. I don't think Ewan McGregor is very good in this movie.
No.
She's giving it her all. It's obviously it's one of the most overwhelmingly made movies ever.
Yeah.
The amount of cuts, the artificiality of the sets and the world. I mean, it looks like it was made in MS Paint. It looks terrible, guys.
Sure. Yes, I agree with you.
I don't.
Jurassic
I don't
Park
agree
was made
with you at
8
all.
years before this movie.
I think this movie is a masterpiece, and I think Baz Luhrmann is a visionary. I think it's a 5-star movie.
Baz Luhrmann is a
Honestly,
visionary.
Shame on you trying to cater to the children that listen to this podcast.
I'm not catering to anybody. This has been one of my favorite movies for years.
I'm a grown-up.
I fear no criticism about this take. The movie is
that's fine.
Atrocious.
You're allowed to have that opinion, and it's going in.
It is going in. I agree.
It's also hugely important it finds her a new, very wide audience.
100%. Yeah, it's a huge movie. Yeah. Arguably the most important movie in her career, right?
Yes, I guess in terms of.
Because it's an original story. She's singing and dancing. She's getting awards recognition.
Is
huge
it original?
Box office success.
No, but that's okay.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Okay, 2001, The Others. I think this is also going in.
Yeah.
I just rewatched this again last night. Alejandro Amenabar's Ghost Story just came up on the Ghost Stories episode that we did not so long ago.
Which one was that?
I can't remember, honestly. We've done so many
of
these.
I don't think I listened to that one, but I'm a devoted listener of The Big Picture.
Maybe it was last year. Could have been last year. Beautiful movie. If you 24 year later, spoiler alert.
Right.
Insane twist. One of the great in theater twists. Yeah. Coming hot on the heels of The Sixth Sense, as these two movies are sort of paired in many ways.
She's really good at it.
And the way that you were describing Kidman's performance, that sense of reserve, is on display, I think, at its best in this movie.
Yes.
Not a very funny movie, not a very fun movie per se, very stately, quiet movie. The exact polar opposite of Moulin Rouge. And the fact that they happen in the same year shows her incredible.
The amount of restraint
strength
that I am showing, not bursting into the Moulin Rouge version of Heroes. It's just really, I should get a prize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. You should get a prize. 2001 Birthday Girl.
I haven't seen this.
It's a thriller starring, is it Ben Chaplin? I think Ben Chaplin.
I don't know. I haven't
about
seen
a Russian girl. It's not very good.
Okay.
This is one of those things where it was okay, so in the same year she released Moulin Rouge, The Others, and Birthday Girl. This is an actress who really likes working.
Yeah.
And 3 very different kinds of performances. Birthday Girl was not a success, and looks a lot more like a lot of the movies that are coming later in her career. 2002, The Hours.
Okay. So this wins her Oscar. Don't like this movie, and sort of a lame performance. Not a lame performance. She's perfectly fine. So this is an adaptation of the Michael Cunningham novel. It's a nesting doll take on Mrs. Dalloway, the Virginia Woolf novel.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole Kidman plays Virginia Woolf in one of 3 timelines, and she's just kind of siloed off, being unhappy, as Virginia Woolf famously was. And she wears the nose, so she doesn't really look like herself. This comes very soon after her divorce from Tom Cruise, and it all comes together, and she wins Best Actress. So I guess we have to put it in, but do I want to put it in? No.
Let's yellow it.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of this movie either. I do understand why she's won. I think it is a little bit of a whoops, we should have given it to her for Moulin Rouge and the others in a collective way and did not do that. And so we're kind of making up for it because of the prosthetics
and the narrative and the divorce and that was a whole thing. Yeah.
She's coming off of an incredible run of success.
Yeah.
That is getting recognized. It's just getting recognized in kind of the most boring Oscar-y way. 2003's Dogville, very challenging Lars von Trier movie.
Yeah.
I think it's debatable whether or not it should go in. I think this is the beginning of her really taking chances because this is a really hard movie that is hard to watch at times, that it clearly was hard to make.
Right.
She did not return for the continuation of this. Manderley, Bryce Dallas Howard was recast in her role. I think I'm getting that right. If I'm getting that wrong, excuse me.
I have some other quote unquote challenging movies that I want to put in.
So let's yellow this.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll acknowledge Dogville, Von Trier, complicated figure in movie history. He's made some amazing films. This is certainly among his best American productions.
Right.
Okay, 2003 is The Human Stain, which is a really, really bad movie. Another Robert Benton movie. An adaptation of the Philip Roth novel,
yes,
which is based on Anatole Broyard, who was a famous literary critic, and his life story, which I weirdly studied in a long class in college.
Okay,
he's one of the great literary critics of all time, but has this incredibly complicated personal story that if you haven't seen it, I guess is worth learning about. He is notably played by Anthony Hopkins in this movie, which I would say is a mistake.
Okay,
something I just want to put out there. The Human Stain is not going in.
Okay.
2003's Cold Mountain. I didn't rewatch it. Did you rewatch it?
I did.
Anthony Minghella's follow-up to The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yes, which was the follow-up to The English Patient.
Yes.
2 movies I adore. I do not adore Cold Mountain.
Okay.
And
this is also based on a big novel.
Yeah. And Nicole Kidman has sort of the thankless part. Renee Zellweger is her sidekick friend, and
she won
wins an Academy Award for it. And she's just sort of pining and being beautiful and
she's
writing
the one who
letters.
falls in love with Jude Law, right?
Yeah. And then Jude Law she's the Penelope part.
Yeah.
I mean, she looks very beautiful, but
Yeah, at the time I was not a huge fan of this movie either. But she got an Oscar nomination for this movie, did she not?
I don't actually know if she did. Jude Law did.
Let me see here.
And Renee Zellweger.
No, you're right. She did not.
Yeah,
she did not. Okay, I feel comfortable making this red.
We don't have to put that in. Yeah. With respect.
Okay, now's your time.
Well, she's very good in The Stepford Wives, and it's another example of her taking a role and giving a performance that plays with the public perception of her, and with the idea of perfection and with the idea of reserve. And I do also think this introduces The Stepford Wives to a new generation of people. She is really good in it. The movie is...
It's not very good.
Not good, and not as good as the original.
Yeah.
So...
Directed by the great Frank Oz.
I think we can yellow it.
I think it's probably red.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to make the cut.
All right, that's fine.
2004's Birth.
Green.
I agree.
This is my favorite Jonathan Glazer film.
This is one of the best films of the century. I think which Jonathan Glazer movie we should consider for 25 for 25 is a very interesting conversation.
Yes.
Because he's made 4 movies.
This would be my pick.
This is a movie that was very controversial and then ignored in its time, about a woman who loses her husband and who is about to be remarried. And a 10-year-old boy knocks on her door in her apartment in New York City and says, "I am Sean. I'm your husband." And this 10-year-old boy is convinced that he is the man who died, who she was married to. And they begin this complicated relationship trying to unpack what is really going on. It's just beautiful, beguiling movie.
Yeah. And it's the flavor of unraveling that she does in this movie is, again, really controlled. and I guess she unravels in a lot of movies. That's kind of one of her specialties, but she finds a new way to do it every time. And like the weirdness and the hope that goes into just this absolutely messed up situation is, and she just goes for it. Like that is the Nicole Kidman thing, is that she's not like ever trying to make it prettier or make you like her. So
she is stunning in this movie. She has a very short haircut.
Yeah.
There's a long sequence at the opera that is just a tight close-up on her as she is sort of losing control of her feelings. That is amazing. There's a collection on the Criterion channel right now that is a bunch of Nicole Kidman movies. This movie is like not available in Blu-ray 4K, for example, and I don't think it's streaming in a ton of places. It is streaming on Criterion right now.
I'll call all my friends and let them know, and they'll get you a 4K.
I would love for there to be a 4K of this movie.
I mean, there should be a 4K. If there's a 4K of, I don't know what else.
A lot of the movies on this list have a 4K. Birth does not. I'll try to remember what the other films are. I know Margot at the Wedding is also on Criterion right now, along with some others. 2005, The Interpreter. This is a Sidney Pollack thriller starring Sean Penn that I watched, I think, for the first time last year. Oh, and it's fine.
I remember seeing it in theaters. This is another Peacemaker thing, you know?
Yeah, it's not quite as like action-y. It's more of a thriller.
That's fine. Yeah. Just like make, fairly generic, mediocre international intrigue films starring movie stars, and I'll watch every one of them. I didn't get to revisit this, but I think I would have had a nice time at the movies in my home. It's
the ultimate 2.5-star movie. It's not bad by any means.
But it's the genre of 2.5-star movie that I like.
Okay.
So that's
it's red in this formulation. Yeah. Nevertheless, I hear what you're saying. Okay. Now is a really important conversation for you. Are you going to make the case for 2005's Bewitched?
It's not good. She's good in it. It's not
written and directed by
my beloved Nora Ephron.
Yes.
Adapted from the TV show.
Yes.
Bobby, do people of your generation know about Bewitched?
I don't, but people in my generation could.
Thumbs up, thumbs down through the control room. Thumbs down. Okay.
You don't know what the television show Bewitched is?
You didn't have access to Nick at Night.
Well, I know what it is, but it was not important in my life. I did have Nick at Night, but they were
100 hours of Bewitched.
This is a Nick at Night divide. They were doing important.
You didn't have Nick at Night growing up?
I did have Nick at Night, but they were playing nothing but Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, God. Wow. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it would, open the schools.
Yeah.
Nick at Night was the schools.
I can't say that Bewitched is like cultural enrichment, but it was a signature. It was one of 25 shows that was on Nick at Night that we probably watched all the time.
So many. Yeah, because there was nothing else on. Yeah.
Bewitched was a great sitcom.
She's very funny.
This movie, I think, is underrated but not good. Like, it was considered a fiasco at the time, and I think what Nora Ephron is going for about this blurring of the Isabel Bigelow actress character and Samantha the real witch, and the sort of like persona-esque, like, are they the same person thing is kind of cool.
No, it's cool. And a lot of the industry stuff is like very good because Nora Ephron knows it so well, and it's like filmed in LA. I think, it's like
all this backlot stuff going on when they're shooting the
Beverly
show.
Hills Hotel and all sorts of it. Yeah.
It's weirdly like, it's like all wrong, but there's something very cool underneath it that I like. It's definitely red. It was not a big success. But it's an interesting, like, if we ever did a Nora Ephron thing, which we actually haven't done, it would be cool to spend some time talking about it because I haven't rewatched it in a while. Okay, 2006 Fur. This is about Diane Arbus, the photographer who shot unusual people in our world and had a curiosity that is interesting. It's kind of a very small character study. The kind of movie that, she made Bewitched so she could make fur. It's okay.
All right.
It's red. It's not going in.
I haven't seen it.
2006 is Happy Feet.
Speak on it.
This is George Miller's animated penguin movie that I wish I liked a little bit more.
Okay.
She does have a significant part in it, but this is a film with her country person, George.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't include it in the box office list because it's just a voice performance, but it would be very high in her box office successes.
I didn't know that was one of your filters.
It is in this case.
Okay.
Wags, Happy Feet, is that a big one for you?
It actually is, although I don't think it's very good. I remember watching it a lot and not really liking it, like by the second half. But it's really fun when the penguins are dancing at the beginning. You're like, whoa, what's going on here?
Oh, I've seen the clip of the penguins dancing. Yeah.
I think that this might actually be the first time that I realized Prince was cool, was because they sing kiss in the opening like 5 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what's this song? This song has a little juice behind it. And then I discovered Prince.
It's fun.
The age of 10.
I tried to watch it with Alice when we were doing Furiosa, and she was not really super into it. So I'm going to say Happy Feet is Red.
Okay.
This came out like concurrently with March of the Penguins, which was like a documentary about Emperor Penguins.
Right.
And I was like, well, if I'm going to have to watch
moment.
penguins on screen, this is much more fun than March of the Penguins.
In 2007, The Invasion. Did you see this?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so this stars Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig.
Ooh.
This is an Invasion of the Body Snatchers remake, directed by Oliver Hirschbiegel, who directed Downfall, the film about Hitler.
Okay.
I wish this movie was better. As someone who is dedicated a lot of time studying all of the adaptations of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, it doesn't really get there. It has some style. The performances are pretty good. This story always works for me.
Yeah.
It feels resonant because it always feels like we're living in a dystopia where people are not being their real selves. But it's not a hit, so
that's fine.
I'm making it right.
Yeah.
2007, Margot at the Wedding.
Green. I mean, it's all so uncomfortable.
It's the most unpleasant
borders
movie.
on unwatchable.
It is so unpleasant. It is expertly done and knows exactly what it's trying to be unpleasant.
Yeah.
This is Noah Baumbach's, I think it's his follow-up to The Squid and the Whale. Is that right?
Yes.
And it stars Nicole Kidman and Jennifer Jason Leigh and Jack Black. Nicole Kidman is a single mother who is borderline repellent.
Yeah, she's awful.
Yeah, really nasty person. But the movie doesn't do the thing that, like, when you are introduced to a nasty... You know what it is really a neat little pairing with? Is Hard Truths. Which, have you seen that yet?
No,
okay.
No, I'm going to see it.
So when you see that, I think you'll see a little bit of it. I think it's a really, really, really sharp movie. Great Jennifer Jason Leigh performance in this movie, too. You think it's green?
Yeah, she is just so vividly awful.
Yeah, she's really good in this.
In a way. It's like, and again, just like the absolute, I'm not going to try to make you like me even for a tiny second.
Yeah.
Like this came out, I think Rachel Getting Married is like 2008. But so there was like this era of actresses you like being really awful at small family weddings. Anne Hathaway's very good in Rachel at the Wedding and is dealing with like, it's a slightly different, it's a someone who has done a lot of wrong, you know, and as opposed to just like an awful person, but she's not as ugly as Nicole Kidman is. Like Nicole Kidman goes for it.
I like your certainty about this being green.
I do also remember, I think that I made my dad see Squid and the Whale and then Margot at the Wedding. And he refused to see a Noah Baumbach film. I think for the rest of his life. I don't know.
He considered that maybe he played a part in making you a person who likes Noah Baumbach movies. This would be an interesting conversation for you guys to have. 2007, The Golden Compass.
This is not going in.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
What is this book called? The Golden Compass, isn't it?
The first one is. It's a series.
What are the others called?
I don't remember, but I think it's the Golden Compass series. It's Philip Pullman.
Philip Pullman. Okay, yeah.
They're quite something. They're dense and they have a lot more. It's like fantasy with like religious ideas. Really, that they're a little subversive, I suppose.
This is a talking polar bear.
Yeah. This is also the thing where you have it's called Golden Compass. People, don't come at me on the pronunciations. I don't know whether it's like demon or daemon. What are we doing here? But you have like a little person who's following you. Not a person, a sort of spectral creature that's an animal that represents things about you, but also it can do things for you.
I see.
This series is called the His Dark Materials
His Dark
trilogy.
Materials, that's right. Because then
adapted into the TV show.
That's right. It was a TV show.
Yeah.
It was only called The Golden
Daphne
Compass
King.
in North America. In the rest of the world, it was called Northern Lights, the first book.
Oh, okay.
So just a little fun fact from Wikipedia for you guys.
Yeah.
This was a reunion from the same year, the invasion of Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig's also in this movie.
Oh, right.
In the same year, Daniel Craig and Nicole Kidman made a movie together.
Okay.
Made 2 movies together. Very weird. 2008 Australia. I just watched in its entirety the extended version of this movie, which is called Faraway Downs.
Okay.
This is Nicole Kidman's reunion with Baz Luhrmann.
Mm-hmm.
It was a I think like a 2.5 hour, almost 3 hour movie.
Yeah.
And then it was expanded into a 4 hour feature series.
So you sat down and watched 4 hours.
Yeah, maybe 3.5 hours.
Yeah, what'd you do while...
Respond to some emails,
Okay.
I watched the first hour pretty intently to get the vibe. I got the vibe. Listeners of the show know Baz is not really my thing. I really love the first two Baz Luhrmann movies, Strictly Ballroom and Romeo and Juliet. Great
they're
movies.
Wonderful.
Everything since then, I can't hear it. Even the Gatsby, I can't get into it all. And this one was really bad. And I regret spending 3.5 hours watching it. You didn't see it?
I saw it when it came out.
When it was Australia.
I didn't revisit it. Yeah.
It was. It's Nicole Kidman and Hugh Jackman.
Oh my God, we have so many more movies.
Okay, let's go a little faster.
I'm really hungry.
2009 9. This is Rob Marshall's Daniel Day-Lewis musical.
Sure.
Nicole Kidman has a very small part in this movie. It's also a disastrous film.
Yeah, it's a no
red
from me.
2010 is a hard one to talk about. Rabbit Hole.
Yes.
Oscar nominated for this movie. This is our introduction to Miles Teller.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by John Cameron Mitchell, which I think is his follow-up to Hedwig.
Right.
Maybe Short Bus came between them. A very good movie and a very good performance. Very small movie. Did you ever see this movie?
I did at the time, and I am not revisiting it because of obvious reasons.
It's a really, really hard movie about parents who've lost a child.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it in a long time either, but I do feel like it's one of the best things she's done. I would say we should at least yellow it because it's damn good.
That's fine.
Although it does not have I feel like it doesn't really have much of a reputation these days. Anyhow, 2011, Just Go With It. Now, if Bill Simmons were sitting in my seat, this would be auto green.
Right.
This is a movie that his family loves.
Sure. I rewatched it last night.
You did?
Yeah. I wouldn't say that it is my favorite of the Adam Sandler takes all of his friends to a beautiful destination for an extended period of time films. I also don't think Nicole Kidman's that good in it. She's fine, and she kind of has a thankless part, but it's not that funny.
What would you say is your favorite of the Adam Sandler brings all of his friends on a vacation movie? You don't mess with the Zohan?
I liked the first Murder Mystery.
Oh yeah, you did like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Second one.
Yeah, but it's that they're on a boat in the Mediterranean and they're doing Agatha Christie send up. That was good by me.
It's a good call. Just Go With It is red. 2011's Trespass is the film I was referring to earlier with Nicolas Cage. Haven't seen it, so it's red.
Okay.
No offense to the fine people who made Trespass. 2012's The Paperboy.
Right.
This is Lee Daniels' 1950s set melodrama.
Right.
In which, remind me, is it Nicole Kidman pisses on Zac Efron?
Yes, correct.
I think it's green. I think this is one of the funniest performances. Incredibly brave, really weird movie. If you're like, I like camp Nicole Kidman, I don't want the Moulin Rouge version. I want this version.
I don't disagree with you.
So this is a very fun movie. It's ridiculous.
But everyone is leaning into it. It was a real thing at the time.
Yeah, McConaughey is leaning into it.
Yeah.
David Oyelowo. We can yellow it, but I think it's a lot of fun.
How many greens do we have right now? That's a good thing to know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Yeah, yellow seems
Things
fine.
get a little rocky in the back half here, so I'm not too worried about it. But
Yeah.
2013 Stoker, tricky one. Park Chan-wook, divisive movie. I think this is his only English language film. She has the lead role. She's opposite Matthew Good. Very steamy movie. Mia Wasikowska as well. I love this movie. I loved it when it came out. I don't remember where I put it on my list back in 2013 when I was just putting them on Tumblr. But I seem to remember it being in the top 10, maybe the top 15. It's really cool. It got really ignored. She also goes into a real movie dead zone after this movie.
Yes.
Where there's a bunch of stuff that just doesn't work or doesn't hit or isn't good. I don't know if Stoker... when I announced that we were doing this, a lot of people were like, Stoker auto green, bro. But it's a bit of a... It's for the cinephiles.
Speak your truth.
Let's yellow it so we can come back to it because I really like Stoker. Yeah. 2013 The Railway Man. Have not seen the film.
Nor have I.
Okay. 2014... That's red, Bob.
2014
Grace of Monaco. I watched this movie this week.
Not good.
So boring.
Yeah.
So boring. It's only about Prince Rainier negotiating taxes.
I mean, I don't...
While she's not an actor anymore?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know because there's all sorts of rumors and sad stuff. And I mean, and like the way that she dies is also very Princess Grace.
But it was
Grace
years
Kelly.
later when she died. It's like they're focusing on this
I don't
short
know.
little period.
I didn't make the movie.
It's so strange.
But this is also sort of like the Pablo Larraín project, like before Jackie.
It is, but I would argue
not as
what
good.
happens with less craft.
Yeah.
It's Olivier Dahan, I think, is the filmmaker who made La Vie en Rose.
Right.
So it sounds like it should be good, but
Right.
it is not good.
This is also right around the time that Naomi Watts makes her Princess Diana movie. So they're both trying to do like the famous
That's right.
Dead Blondes thing.
That's right.
Anyway,
This,
it's not going in.
I agree, it's not going in. The next movie, Before I Go to Sleep, I also haven't seen. Its distributor in the United States was Clarius Entertainment, which is a company I've never heard of.
Don't know.
It stars Mark Strong, Colin Firth, and Nicole Kidman.
Oh. What's it about?
It's directed by Rowan Joffe. What is it about? I think it's a thriller. Let me see here. A psychological thriller based on an S.J. Watson novel.
I mean, maybe I would like that.
You might. It
haven't
might
seen
be
it.
like The Interpreter.
Okay.
It's not going in.
Okay. No, it's not.
Red. 2014's Paddington.
Doesn't need to go in. We can honorary yellow.
Okay.
She's the villain.
Mhm.
She's a
Millicent Clyde.
right. She's a taxidermist.
Mhm.
And there's a whole thing about her father and a whatever. Paddington 2 is preferred in my household, as it is among the dads of Paddington. I understand it. I think it is a cinematically higher achievement, but also Knox's feedback is that there's more Paddington in Paddington 2.
I see.
So
We don't need all that origin story
that's
stuff.
just something to think about.
Yeah.
And well,
It's kind of like a First Avenger versus the Winter
sure.
Soldier,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay.
Okay. 2015, Paddington Yellow, but it's not going in. 2015 Strangerland. I don't know what this is. I haven't seen it. Probably won't be seeing it. There's only so much I can do to prepare for this show.
I mean, I'm also in this run.
The same is also true of The Family Fang. Don't know what it is. Haven't seen it. It might be wonderful. She plays Annie Fang.
Okay.
Hang on now. You skipped 2015's Queen of the Desert.
Oh, Queen of the Desert. My bad. Have I seen I don't know if I've seen any of these movies.
Hold on.
You've seen Queen of the Desert?
Queen of the Desert is a Werner Herzog film.
Oh, I haven't seen this.
I haven't seen it either.
It's about Gertrude Bell. It's a biodoc.
Okay. The Family Fang.
Something is happening in movies here where
The Family Fang is directed by Jason Bateman. And
Wow.
it's hold
Wild.
on, but we're not there. Wikipedia is not giving me a log line. Come on. The Family Fang enters a bank. Baxter robs a teller for lollipops, shoots, and Caleb rushes. I don't even know what this sentence means. Okay. So I don't know what's going on with
Family Fang. A brother and sister return to their family home in search of their world-famous parents who have disappeared.
Oh, okay. That was good. But I have never seen it still.
I mean, this is remarkable. It's written by David Lindsay Abaire, who wrote Rabbit Hole. That I have never
Pulitzer
heard of this
Prize
movie.
winner.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never heard of this movie.
Nor have I.
It's not going in. If there are huge Family Fang heads out there, let us know. We apologize. Bateman, congrats on Carry On, bro. Good job. Did you see Carry On? Do you know what Carry On is?
I thought you were saying a different
Not Keep
thing.
Calm and Carry On. I was saying Carry On, the film.
I do. No, I thought you were saying it like with an I, and I was like, I don't know what's happening here.
Like carrion, like
yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
Like what vultures eat.
I have not yet seen it. I'm aware. Obviously, listen to the Chris Ryan segment.
Yep.
Seems. I look forward to it.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's one of the most watched films in Netflix history.
Sure. Yeah.
2015 Secret in Their Eyes. This is a film you were referring to earlier.
Mm-hmm.
A star-studded affair. I think the only time that Nicole Kidman and Julia Roberts are featured in a film together. Tu Tel Ejiofor. This is a film based on a very successful 2009 Argentine film that is one of the great international movies of the last 25 years. This version stinks.
Yeah. And this was also like a real, it's like it didn't happen.
Yeah. Billy Ray is a writer and director. I like. Movie doesn't work that well. Okay. 2016. This is the movie I was referring to that I was like, what is this? Who was alive when this happened?
Sure. Yeah.
The movie is called Genius. Do you know this movie?
No.
Okay. Let me tell you a bit about this movie. going to pull it up for you right now.
I'm reading it.
So it's directed by Michael Grandage, who's best known for his stage direction. He also directed My Policeman, the Harry Styles movie that came out a couple of years ago.
That's different than... What was the... Hey, Mr. Policeman, I gave you all the clues.
That was The Snowman.
Right, but it was, hey, Mr. Police, I gave you all the clues?
I think that's right,
okay,
yeah. That movie was just announced it'll be released on 4K. Birth not available on 4K. The Snowman, starring Michael Fassbender, will be. Okay, this is a movie about Thomas Wolfe in New York City trying to get his novel Oh Lost published. And he goes to Maxwell Perkins, the editor.
Okay.
And he tries to get this book edited down from like 5,000 pages to something that the world would actually want.
Okay, so Jude Law is Thomas Wolfe and Colin Firth is Maxwell Perkins.
Furthermore, Nicole Kidman is Aileen Bernstein.
Oh my God.
Dominic West is Ernest Hemingway. Guy Pearce is F. Scott Fitzgerald. Laura Linney plays Colin Firth's character's wife, Louise Perkins. And Vanessa Kirby is Zelda Fitzgerald.
Vanessa Kirby is Zelda Fitzgerald?
Inspired casting.
Wow.
Not a living soul has seen this film.
Here's one thing.
What is this?
Listen, I don't know what this is, but okay. Dominic West, English. Guy Pearce, Australian. Vanessa Kirby, English.
I said the same thing to Chris, and I was telling him about this movie yesterday.
This reminds me, are you watching The Agency?
I'm not actually, but I hope to.
We're only a few episodes in because a lot of catching up to do. Yep. But Dominic West is playing like basically the head of the CIA.
Cool.
And I just...
George Tenet?
Sometimes we do know these actors' nationalities. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we do need Americans to play Americans. When it's Ernest Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald.
I watched a little bit of this, and Jude Law doing like, I'm just here in the big town, ready to write my book, as Thomas Wolfe. It really doesn't work that well. This movie's written by John Logan, who wrote Gladiator and Skyfall and many, many good movies. Amazing that this even happened.
Okay.
2016 Lion, Academy Award nominated for this movie.
Yeah.
That I don't think is that great.
No.
Stars Dev Patel. I would say it's red.
I don't feel any need to put it in.
Okay. 2017, How to Talk to Girls at Parties. Very small part in this A24 movie. Mm-hmm. I think, is it Elle Fanning is the star of this movie? Definitely not going in red. The Killing of a Sacred Deer. This movie and Babygirl have something in common about how Nicole Kidman's characters like to have sex.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird that that's come up again. I love The Killing of a Sacred Deer. One of my favorite Yorgos Lanthimos movies. Yeah, I don't know that this needs to go in, though. Okay. It's a pretty bold performance.
To be fair, how she does or doesn't like to have sex is a recurring theme in movies. In
her movies or in all movies?
In her movies.
How Nicole Kidman likes to have sex is a recurring theme in all movies. Got it. Killing of a Sacred Deer, in or out?
Yellow.
The Beguiled, Sofia Coppola.
We don't need to do it.
You don't even want to yellow it just to pay homage?
It's not my favorite Sofia Coppola film.
I think it's a pretty interesting movie. I'm not sure that it's like Nicole Kidman's best work or anything like that.
Yeah. Kiki
very good
gets all the
Kirsten
fun.
Dunst performance.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not friends with Kirsten Dunst yet, in case anyone's wondering.
Another situation where she made 2 movies in the same year with the same actor, just like she had The Invasion and The Golden Compass with Daniel Craig. She has Colin Farrell in The Killing of a Sacred Deer and The Beguiled. That's interesting. I wonder if that's something she does on purpose. She was also in The Upside, which is a remake of a French film that starred Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart and was a huge box office success, and I've never heard a person talk about it. I'll tell you what, I saw it in a movie theater, and I kind of liked it.
Oh, it came out like early January.
Yes,
I remember this, and everyone was like, oh, we all saw The Upside, except for movie people.
Yeah, it was not a movie people movie.
Okay.
But it was pretty enjoyable. Okay. She has a kind of a nothing part in it.
Okay.
2018's Destroyer.
I love this movie.
Me too. Were you on the show when this came out? Because Karan Kusama came on and we talked about it, but I don't think you were on yet.
No, I think that I was doing award stuff.
Okay.
Because I went
you're right.
Yeah,
because
because it was at least part of the awards conversation.
We talk about it?
And so I think we talked about how much we liked it.
This is really good.
This is a really good movie. And also really cool that Nicole Kidman did it. And this is around the time that she very publicly is like, I am going to start working with more female directors. I'm going to make that part of my career strategy to try to promote the work, and gets like this movie made and seen and talked about in award season. Yes.
It's very good. I would yellow it just out of personal affection. I'm not sure if it goes into like a hall for Kidman, but it's meaningful for the reason that you just described. 2018's Boy Erased. This is Joel Edgerton's movie about a couple and their son who is struggling with his queer identity, I guess, or his parents are struggling with his queer identity.
His parents
they're trying to get him
to conversion therapy.
Yeah.
It's upsetting, but I don't think
sad movie, but not a great movie.
Yeah.
2018's Aquaman.
If you'd like.
No, I think it's red.
Okay.
I'd like
so in this instance,
honor Queen Atlanta.
Queen Atlanta likes to have sex with humans.
Yeah.
So
it's the same sex scene as the motel scene in Babygirl.
I thought you were going to say the Shape of Water. Is it like a one-time thing?
Not sure.
Okay.
Not sure.
Well, it's
kind of a you up situation.
So Patrick Wilson is the brother.
Yeah, Orm.
What's his parentage?
I can't remember.
Okay.
Some other fisherman.
Listen, I do the work.
Why can't you do the work? on the shoreline of wherever he lives.
Okay.
Is that a Pacific Coast situation or Atlantic Coast? I can't remember. Is it Maine?
I mean,
where's Aquaman from?
More
of a Red Sox guy.
If it's not
more of a San Francisco Giants fan.
If it's not Atlantic based, then we've named Atlantis inappropriately.
Should we do an Aquaman rewatch?
Yeah.
Okay. Aquaman's red. The Goldfinch is also red.
It is. This was such a disappointment.
What a shame. 2019's
that
Bombshell.
Stranger Kids thing is in it? No.
The what thing?
The Goldfinch.
The Stranger Kids thing?
What's that show
Stranger
called?
Things.
Stranger Things Kids.
That's Stranger Kids. That would be a tough name for that.
The nouns are still on their way back.
Yeah.
It
takes time. 2019's Bombshell.
No.
She has a small part in this movie. She's pretty good in it, but I don't think it's in the Hall of Fame. 2020's The Prom was atrocious.
Who is she in The Prom?
I don't know, but her character's name is Angie Dickinson.
That is funny.
I don't think she's playing the Angie Dickinson. 2021 Being the Ricardos.
She was good.
One of your favorite films of that year. Oscar nominated for this very bad movie. For the movie that, to me, that broke the curse on the Sorkin thing for me. Where I was like, oh, it's curtains for this dude. And I like a lot of his scripts a great deal.
Isn't that the most recent Sorkin movie? Because this is
after... Was Trial of Chicago 7 2020? And then Being the Ricardos was 2021?
Yes. Yeah. That sounds right.
Yeah. And I mean, Trial of Chicago 7 had some stuff I liked. Being the Ricardos I found painful.
She was good in it.
Fine. She's fine.
Okay. At least she's being funny and kind of all right, whatever. I don't need to do it. I don't need to defend it. It doesn't need to go in.
It's like a bad biopic, you know? She did get Oscar nominated, but it felt like a kind of a weird nomination. It's like you don't nominate her for shit like
but the
Destroyer,
FBI and then J. Edgar Hoover called and said that she's not on the list, and Javier Bardem got to announce that to everyone.
Huge moment.
Just like Deus Ex Hoover, great stuff.
Absolutely, it was a great movie about how she's not a communist. So that's awesome. Okay, 2022's The Northman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is going in, but she's amazing. For like 8 minutes in this movie.
Okay.
She has a turn. You didn't see this?
No, I didn't.
Oh, goddamn. Really good.
I'm open to it.
It's not really a very big part.
Okay.
But she has a sequence with Alexander Skarsgård that is excellent.
Do they have sex?
Obviously people not exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, now I gotta call that up.
Well, it's more complicated than you think.
Oh, well. Is she his mother?
Maybe you should watch the film. Eggers is back in the news. Nosferatu is a huge hit.
I'm going to go see it.
Okay.
Every man in my life has been like, actually, Amanda, I think you would like Nosferatu.
You might.
Sometimes I listen to the men in my life.
You might enjoy it. I'll say, Yellow Northman, I don't think it's going to make the cut. 2023, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, not going in. Queen Atlanta.
I was trying to think of more inappropriate questions to ask you, but I think that we've covered it.
2024, your favorite film of the year, A Family Affair.
I felt that she and Zac Efron were quite charming.
A reunion of the Paperboy duo.
Yes. And
does she pee on him in that movie as well?
You watched this.
I watched like the first hour and 10 minutes and I was like, life is too short.
I liked her wardrobe a lot. I mean, I had a lot of questions about, so in both this and the TV series A Perfect Couple, also on Netflix this year, she plays a writer of some renown.
Mm-hmm.
This one, she seems to be more of like a high literary sensation. She freelances for Vogue as like the literary writer, as opposed to like a Colleen Hoover type person. In A Perfect Couple, she seems to be a little more mass market. She's basically being Ellen Hildebrand. She affords just like an incredible amount.
Her house is sick.
Her house is amazing.
She a divorcee?
And also, yeah, I think so. And also just like a very classic like mishmash of like LA real estate exteriors.
Almost like Beamer in the driveway. And
and it's like but it's like right on the ocean, which doesn't exist. Beautiful house, great clothes. I didn't have a bad time watching this. It doesn't need to go in.
Okay. Instagram is evil of streaming movies, in my opinion. You can have this, trust me, unless you want to pay a mortgage and have a family and try to manage your career while managing the rest of this world.
Oh, so you think it sets unrealistic expectations?
I do.
I mean, yeah.
You can have it all, including Zac Efron's cock.
She does say that Vogue pays her $4 a word.
She does say that.
Yeah.
What does that get you in this economy? One
It's true.
carton of eggs.
It's true. Definitely not that house or any of those clothes.
Okay, Babygirl. I don't think so. But
it's early.
It's early.
So it might be down the road.
We very rarely put the new one in.
Yeah. Well, we got to go through all the other stuff.
Okay. So Babygirl will yellow.
Okay.
Spellbound is a voice performance for a Netflix film this year.
Tell me more.
Haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. You're really falling down on your responsibilities.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out.
I did a lot of work on A Family Affair, and I can speak to the TV shows shortly.
Appreciate that. She's worked on a lot of TV. Mm-hmm. I don't ultimately think we should include any TV in here, but there would be one exception.
Big Little Lies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just for context, through the 80s, she appeared in a number of TV shows, a lot of episodic television. She also was a regular on a handful of shows. She also appeared in a very well-known miniseries called Vietnam. Nicole Kidman was born during Vietnam. Her parents lived in Hawaii when she was born. Mm-hmm. Her father was a professor of some regard. She has dual citizenship in our country and in Australia. Her family eventually went back to Australia. I think Vietnam was a meaningful conflict and something that her parents were focused on when she was younger. I haven't seen this series, but apparently it's very good, this Vietnam miniseries that came out in 1987. I want to check that out. She's also on a show called Bangkok Hilton. She had 6 or 7 appearances. And then nothing until 2012. Mm-hmm. She's in the HBO movie Hemingway and Gellhorn, opposite Clive Owen.
Yeah.
Another film that she appears in about Ernest Hemingway.
And another time that a British person is playing Ernest Hemingway. That's fine.
I think it's also directed by Philip Noyce, who was the director of Dead Calm. Not going in. Big Little Lies comes in 2017.
You could make a real case for this.
So this kicks off a stretch here where we get, in a 7-year period on television, in sort of fancy streaming prestige TV, 2 seasons of Big Little Lies, Top of the Lake China Girl, the 2nd season of Top of the Lake, The Undoing on
pretty
HBO.
Good.
Horrible ending, but pretty good.
Well, I mean, it was fun.
Very watchable.
It was what it was.
Very watchable. It was Nicole and Hugh Grant, so it was good for you. 9 Perfect Strangers.
I actually never saw this, even though I read the book.
Did not like it. 1 episode of Roar on Apple TV+.
Okay.
Lioness.
Which would be remiss to omit. At least
Chris keeps calling it Lioness. And shouldn't it be Lioness? Where's the emphasis on the wrong syllable there?
I am not a part of the Lioness Hive, even though my husband has been converted. Went straight from Landman into Lioness.
Did you know Nicole Kidman is not the titular Lioness?
That's Zoe Saldana,
yes.
Right? Yeah. She's
who is the director of the CIA in Lioness? Do you know?
No.
Morgan Freeman? No. I believe it's Michael Kelly, and Morgan Freeman is the Secretary of Defense.
Sick.
I have not seen this show.
That's a whole world.
Lulu Wang's TV show Expats, which I have not seen, also came out last year. Yeah, she stars in that.
I wanted to read the book and then watch it, but
you had a baby instead.
Well, it's also about bad things happen to a kid. So
okay.
I was just like, I can't
also
do
a
it.
recurring theme in her work.
Yeah.
And then 2024, you mentioned The Perfect Couple, which is the series that she was on last year.
Tremendous trash. I had a fantastic time. It's really, really poor decisions made in the casting of every single man on that show, except for Liev Schreiber, who is having the time of his life. And I don't know if you guys heard about the flash mob credit sequence or the flash mob title sequence.
I have, yeah.
Which they all hated except for Liev Schreiber, who was like, no, I really want to do this. So that's pretty legendary. Doesn't need to go in. her accent is all over the damn place.
Okay.
She just like starts being British about 3/4 of the way in.
That is something that occasionally happens in her work. She'll go for an accent pretty big, and then it'll waver at times.
Yeah. Let me make the case for Big Little Lies.
Good.
It's a sensation in terms of television, of movie stars doing television. I mean, like that, and it's really Nicole Kidman and Reese Witherspoon doing it is what turns the tide. And I mean, that's like, I guess, bad for us, but it's fine for their bank accounts.
It's pinging back right now, so I'm not so worried about it.
It's also, it starts the whole Reese Witherspoon thing, the book adaptation thing. It was part of the whole produced by women working with like it is like really essential in recent industry as well as in her career. And also corresponds with sort of a resurgence in her doing things we actually care about work-wise.
I'll tell you what, I'm on board.
Okay.
We can include it for the first time ever, a television show in a Hall of Fame on a movie podcast.
Here's the other case I was going to make.
Okay.
The AMC promo.
I get it, but no. Like, I get it, but no. Because then we're getting into a place where ad campaigns are eligible at all times, and that's a slippery slope. And I don't want it. Big Little Lies is a work of art. Like AMC is not.
So
the Hall of Fame is for art.
What was the Kevin Costner thing that I was so mad about?
When he was
Molly's Game. Oh, right.
His
Okay.
Coffee, Green Mountain Coffee.
I mean, that I was mad about that too. But so when you wouldn't put Molly's Game in the Kevin Costner Hall of Fame, I was angry because I really thought we like had
on this show.
I thought that we had something together.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed because, like, I have the galaxy brain. You know, I can see all of it, and you're usually riding with me, and you're not.
Well, I'll tell you what.
You
can have one or the other. You can have Big Little Lies, or you can have the AMC ad. And if you choose the AMC ad, I will support you.
Oh, that's not fair. That's hard. Oh, Bob, where are you on this?
On the split between whether we should. To be clear, are we greening one of these, or are we just yelling one of these?
Yeah, one is getting
It's got to be Big Little Lies. I know it has to be Big Little Lies.
This woman's made 380 films, and we're cutting one of them out.
It's Big Little Lies.
Do you want to have an opinion, Bob?
Oh, I think it's definitely Big Little Lies. It's like actually a performance. I mean, the ad is one thing. It's not really even a commercial, though. It was like for the 100-year anniversary of AMC theaters, right? It was when it came out, but...
I mean, it is for a corporation that I think is run very poorly.
These are all for corporations that are run poorly, just for the record.
That's a great point.
In dying Hollywood today.
Okay, that's so Big Little Lies.
I think that's a good one. I like the case that you made for it. We all watched it. It was very entertaining.
5, 6. The first season was good. Also, Alexander Skarsgård.
I think that once again, that's why they worked together in the Northman.
I miss him.
Probably being great somewhere. He's wonderful.
Yeah.
Pretty consistently great in everything he does.
Yeah.
He must have a big movie coming out this year.
I hope so.
He didn't have one this past year. Okay, so we'll go through our greens very quickly here. The greens are To Die For, Eyes Wide Shut, Moulin Rouge, The Others, Birth, Margot at the Wedding, and Big Little Lies. That gives us 2, 4, 6, 7 greens. We have several yellows. I'll read them to you right now. Dead Calm, Days of Thunder, Malice, Practical Magic, The Hours, Dogville, Rabbit Hole, The Paperboy, Paddington, The Killing of a Sacred Deer, Destroyer, The Northman, and Babygirl. I'll just say...
Wait, how many do we have? Sorry, I was thinking about Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah, oh my God. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 yellows, which might be the world record for yellow. 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Okay.
So we've got 20 films, or 19 films in one television series. Let me just say this. I think that Practical Magic and Dead Calm basically need to go in. I think we were being delicate by not putting them in.
Okay.
But I think they're movies that people love, that she is acclaimed for, that are two totally different types of parts. I think also you get this sick period from 1998 through 2004 where she's just awesome in movies. She's just great in everything she does. That's fine,
except, and I Practical Magic people, I see you.
You're gonna cut it out.
I love you. Well, why can't
so you're going to have the Practical Magic people coming for you, the Moulin Rouge people coming for me in the same episode.
But like, we put Moulin Rouge in.
Yeah, well, of course. I acknowledge its power.
Why can't we do something for us? Why can't this be
our
list?
Big Little Lies in.
I know, but why can't we do Destroyer? Why can't we do Babygirl?
Well, if we put in Dead Calm and Practical Magic, we still have one other
what if I want Destroyer and Babygirl?
Women really can have it all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like you're with me.
Why don't you do what you want to do? Right.
You're with me on Destroyer over Practical Magic.
I like Destroyer more than Practical Magic, of course.
Well, then why don't we just do Practical Magic, Destroyer, and Babygirl?
What about Dead Calm?
Like it's good, but like
I would
whatever.
rather watch Dead Calm than Babygirl again.
Well, that is your patriarchy and internalized sex at work, okay? So that's on you.
I've seen Babygirl twice. I've probably seen Dead Calm twice. You know?
Listen, it's fine. Sam Neill's just like on a boat for a while.
Let me pitch an idea to you.
Yeah.
Should we hold a listener vote
for
a final spot in the Halls of Fame in the future? Where we give them the remaining yellows and they vote.
Do we have to?
Well, listen, we all know that you're a demagogue dictator.
Okay? No, listen. It's, women have been waiting this whole time and now we can have it all. So now I get to.
What if only women can vote? We'll do like a little reverse.
So then what would be the last spot?
If you wanted to do, I don't think Babygirl should go in. I really like Babygirl, but I really like a lot of these movies that aren't going in. Paperboy's not going in. Killing of a Sacred Deer, that's a movie I really like. Rabbit Hole, that's a movie I really like. Dogville.
Okay.
I think if you were building a Hall of Fame as an objective member of cultural restitution, the hours would go in. I don't want to put it in. I'm not making you put it in.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
We're working together. This is a team. This show is a team effort.
I know, and you left me hanging on AMC, and you're not. Teamwork would be Destroyer. We both really like that movie.
You're a corporate stooge. I'm not allowing that. I can't allow you to sell yourself in that way, especially not with the themes of Babygirl.
I just understand the zeitgeist. I've got my finger on the pulse.
Yeah, for a 3-year-old meme.
I do think we should really bring back old memes. There was another meme that we were just discussing from 2017 that was really good.
You're momming a little bit here, just so you know.
Sorry.
We should bring back old memes.
I have respect for history. Okay? It's my Roman Empire.
You got 3. You can make 3 picks right now.
Okay.
I won't even. I'll let you do whatever you want. Honestly, you could.
Well, that's not fun.
You're in charge.
Okay. That, all right.
You're the boss. You're the Babygirl.
So, Dead Calm, Practical Magic, and Babygirl.
Sold.
Okay.
Got that, Bobby?
I do. So all that and Destroyer is not even going in.
Yeah, because...
What do you think if we put these other 10 things up for the public and they can have the 11th spot?
No.
Why are you fighting?
Why are you trying to involve... This is our time.
We just had it.
Okay. All right, sure. They can vote for the 11th spot.
No matter what happens, we had our time. We had our say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wait, you want to give the listeners the participation trophy spot?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that. It would be an alternative opinion. What I'm doing is I'm opening my ears to the world. I think
they can make their own lists.
Well, they certainly will.
Yeah,
and they do.
And that's cool. And I support them on their own time,
All right. You do not believe in democracy. You believe that this fascist direction that world politics has taken is healthy and just. It's good to know.
We carved out our space. This is our table.
It's true. This is our table. Okay, great. Let's go to my conversation now with Halina Reijn. So happy to be back with Halina Reijn. You have a new film, Babygirl. Thanks for being here.
Very exciting to be here. Now we're live.
We're in person.
Last time we were distant.
Yes, we were on Zoom.
We're very much in the same space, which is exciting.
This is a movie about intimacy, so maybe it's better that we
way
are
better.
Okay, a little bit closer. Take me back to the moment after Bodies, Bodies, Bodies came out. I think I might have asked you what you were doing next, if you knew what you were doing. I don't remember, honestly. I didn't go back and listen to it.
Oh, people should go back and listen to it, or at least I should. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies came out, and I think it was even before that when I was editing still that I was, of course, kind of like, okay, what's next? And I was considering different things that were sent to me. But my sisters, who kind of are my coaches, if you will, or the good witches over in the Netherlands, who helped me to sort of navigate all the things that are new to me, always said you should write something yourself. And I wrote Instinct together with another woman. I wrote Red Light, a TV show on sex work that I did in the Netherlands with a team of other people. So I never wrote anything alone. And Bodies, of course, was not my original script. And then Sarah Delep and I rewrote it together. but very different than writing something by yourself.
Yeah.
But A24, as they are very supportive, and they were like, "No, you should write in English," because they found me working on bodies proved to them that I could do it and that I had a fast pen, and they thought I was funny in my writing. And then I always just had this idea to create something about the complicated relationship that I have with myself. The question, can you love yourself completely or not just the parts of yourself that you like to show to the outside world, but also the things that you are embarrassed about? And that kind of deeper question and led me to think, oh, maybe I can make a sexual thriller, but maybe mine is more sexual comedy. I think if we look at it closely.
I want to ask you about that. Yeah.
And so I thought maybe I can do that and make a fun, sort of big, seductive movie with that hidden message of that question of self-love. So that was kind of like my starting point.
When I saw you introduce the movie, it was at CAA, and you seemed very nervous. You seemed very open, but you were like, this is extremely personal.
Yes.
And obviously I assume everything that you work on is extremely personal. You wouldn't do it if it wasn't.
Yeah.
But why specifically was this so personal?
I think I'm happy that you say that on one hand, you could give me the phone book right now and I could perform that for you in a very personal way. But I do think that why this scares me so much. And even because, we're still doing screenings and the premiere is coming up and I still am nervous. It's because the topic is, of course, shame in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to create, something about my hidden, the hidden parts of my personality and my hidden thoughts and feelings. And so it's all on the screen and that is just scary to sort of share with others.
Mm-hmm.
And even though everybody keeps saying Nicole Kidman, who stars in my film, is so courageous and the movie is so courageous. And it is, but that makes it also still, it's not like we're like, oh yeah, of course we're doing this. Like, we're doing it and thinking, oh my God, what have we done? And is this really something I want to share with other people? Or should I just have kept quiet about it? And should you just not talk about these things? Because there is in me a warrior that's like, we need to talk about the orgasm gap. And then there's in me a woman who goes, oh, please stop. Just like.
I feel like that exists inside the Nicole character. The sort of this bifurcated shame, but desire to be clearly expressing yourself. But also, it is very, very funny. And it's not clear necessarily how early on you're like, can I laugh at this? Am I allowed to laugh at this? Especially can a man laugh at this movie? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Or do we feel safe doing that? So when you were writing, did you have a clear sense that you wanted it to be not joke laden, but that bursting the bubble of anxiety that comes with topics like this while also making a very propulsive thriller? Maybe talk about blending those two things.
Yes, definitely. I really set out after Bodies. I discovered humor and I was like, this is amazing. And of course, as an actress, I've always really loved humor as a weapon in all I did mainly stage work, but also in my movies. I love being a comedic actress. So when I started to write this, especially because I think that human nature is incredibly tragic, but also incredibly funny to me. Human behavior is just so, we constantly contradict ourselves and we're constantly conflicted. And so I thought I just want to add that layer, that tone that with Bodies, of course, we also really had to search for that. It's very complicated to make a movie that has tension, where you actually are a little bit afraid, but at the same time you're laughing. That's the same with sexuality, because sexuality, we don't necessarily think about humor because it's kind of like humor is always a relief. And sexuality builds up to something. And so it's hard to do, but for me, everybody can start laughing. Not of course the very beginning, because that's pretty intense, but once they have that kind of cookie scene, there's a scene in the beginning of the movie where she asks him how he got a dog to calm down on the streets. And he just says, I gave it a cookie. And then he offers her one. And I think that to me is kind of the beginning of the game, is where they sort of set the rules of the sexual game, if you will. And then the humor also starts for me.
It must be so exciting. In my screening, that's when everyone started laughing, was the do you want one scene with the cookie.
Yeah.
It must be exciting to watch, to recognize that people maybe have the same sensibility that you two too, or what is that like when you're writing something and you're like, I hope that this is going to connect the way that I see it or the way that I understand this idea.
Yeah, no, that's it's most of all a relief, because of course we all think, or at least I think constantly, that I'm an alien, and that I'm an imposter and that I don't belong on this planet. And that's and then of course humor is such a specific thing. So then to watch a lot of people laugh at a joke that you wrote or make. But I also really have to give credit to the actors because of course Harris Dickinson is who plays the young lover, Nicole Kidman's intern in the movie. He's an amazing actor and he's a comedian. So he can really do that in a way that is very subtle because the humor in Babygirl is not like in your face, but it is constantly present. Because I also think that if you want to tell a story with a little bit of irony and you bring awareness to what is sexuality really and what is a sub-dom relationship, because that is something, of course, that we are exploring in this movie. I just think that it is very funny. If you bring it in a realistic way, not if you kind of paint this glamorous old Hollywood picture of it, because then it's just something that we might aspire to, that we dream of, or an escapism. But I wanted to create something that would feel completely human at all levels.
We were talking about Verhoeven before we started, and you have acted for him in a film, and that is a very distinctly Verhoeven idea too. That's sort of like the intense tension and action in some cases blended with this absurdist sense of humor, and that like kind of pierces the bubble of the tension really well. Like, did you pick something up while working with him? Like, how is that an influence on you?
Well, I do think that we are very similar. Maybe it's also a little bit of a Dutch thing that, we're very much earthy people, we're very grounded people. And from that, almost like a little bit like farmers, and from that comes a lot of humor, I think. The Dutch have a lot of cynical, ironic humor. And so maybe that is a little similar. And I just think, again, that if you want to go into these really dark areas of yourself and of humans in general, you also got to seduce the audience a little bit to come with you. And why is humor such a weapon for that, such a Trojan horse, if you will? Because it just connects us. Because if we can laugh at something, even in very tragic circumstances, it just feels that you're together.
Yeah.
And so that's and sexuality is such a charged subject for everyone. There's so many things that we still are afraid to talk about, or and that we're feel very alone in. And so there's a lot of humor when you bring it in a vulnerable human way, I think, and then you sort of feel that the audience, like you say, they are maybe a little bit uncomfortable, and then they are so relieved when they can laugh.
Did you write it with actors in mind?
No, I write very much. I just play all the parts. I did that with bodies too. I sort of like I write a scene first. I write it out, and then after. So first I have a treatment and all of that technical things where you sort of like lay the land and you really structure everything, because like the character Romy, I come from chaos, so I love structure and organization. And then within that, I can be free in my little house where nobody can see me, and I can act out all the parts to sort of feel if the rhythm adds up, if it's like music, if it really, and also to see if it's sort of possible even to do what I'm creating on the page. And so I don't write with people in mind. And Nicole came into my life after Instinct. She already contacted me, and I worked on something for her company, and it was really, really great because it gave me a lot of confidence to write in English. But then after Bodies, I was just so inspired by making a movie in America. And I felt what I really love about America is that I feel when I'm here that there's no boundaries in how I think about my creativity. Whereas in Europe, I feel always that you're kind of weighed down by the beautiful, but very huge history that we have there.
That's so interesting. I mean, you would think that the opposite would be true for so many people, because there's this understanding of European film history that there is something kind of unbound about it, whereas in America, it's very commercial, but you don't feel that.
No, I understand that, of course, that archetype of how we think of both the continents and how creativity is there. But no, for me, I think it's a very interesting paradox. I think here, because, of course, listen, we could talk for hours about all the things that are wrong in Europe and all the things that are wrong in America, of course. But to keep it positive, for me, what I found here is that when I think, for instance, let's say I'm thinking about making a big scale movie in New York that's super sensual and then in the Netherlands I would think like, but shooting in New York, that would never be possible. It's too expensive. That's very much the European mentality of be normal. That's funny enough. Like, don't think you're all dead. And that's because we have behind us these enormous amounts of history and culture, and we kind of like look up and we're like, oh my God. And here there's this almost but I don't want to say that in an offensive way, but a childlike mind that I have when I'm here, and I can just dream big. If I would tell you now, hey, I'm starting an ice cream shop in New York. What do you think about it? A lot of American people in my life would say, great, great. And in the Netherlands, it was an ice cream shop. Are you insane? Like, so here everybody's very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't know where that comes from, but I feel for me, because my ideas are quite dark and strange, it is amazing when A24 goes, oh, great. Yeah. Walk further into that dark forest.
Is it, I say this with admiration, is it possible that you don't realize that you have a certain kind of personality that invites that welcomingness to the idea in this country? Because that's not how I see America at all.
No?
What you just described, no.
You don't think that people here are, at least when it comes to entrepreneurship or wanting to build something, are like, that's amazing, you should try that. Whereas in Europe, they're like, what?
Maybe you're right. I don't know. I candidly just have not spent enough time in Europe to be able to answer that specifically. But in America, I don't know. I think that there is maybe like a forward-facing positivity that underneath the surface is skeptical. But you know what? The fact that emboldens you to be creative is fascinating to me. Nicole, also not American.
No, all my whole cast is not American. I did not realize that at all till later. Antonio Banderas is, of course, not American.
Harris is not.
Harris is from the UK, and Sophie Wilde is from Australia.
Oh my goodness!
So that's kind of strange. I do think the Australians share the same kind of like earthiness that the Dutch have, and that humor, that very much like self-deprecating. Elements, and that is what Americans, and again we're completely generalizing, but we're having fun with it. Americans can be emotional and enthusiastic without any reservation. That is in Europe, that's unthinkable. It's unthinkable. You could never say, oh my God, this is such a beautiful moment. You could never say that. People would literally be like, what are you doing? And there's something in that for me personally, that because I really changed my whole life later in life, I just thought after all these years, I'm going to be a director now and not an actress anymore. That was, in my country, was really looked upon as what? Like, we have this saying, it's like, shoemaker, stay with your profession. So if you're a shoemaker, you're a shoe repairman and you're never changing. And here I feel like you can reinvent yourself. But of course, there's other downsides to that here, right? I mean, there's no safety net. There's if you don't succeed next week, you live in your car. So in that sense, I find it a super scary place.
I can feel that in the movie, though, because in the movie, you've written this character to be a very powerful person, a very forward-facing person who has to perform all the time, but who is in a position of decision-making power and is concerned about perception, about all things. You could say this feels very much like an actress, or it feels very much like a director.
Yeah.
Or maybe an actress who was a director.
Yeah.
How much did you think about putting yourself into it? And also just why a CEO in general for the character?
Yeah, well, because I wanted to make a comedy of manners about power and sex and control. And I wanted to be in conversation with the past. I wanted to be in conversation with all the sexual thrillers that I so loved in the 90s and the early 2000s, but that I also thought were incredibly sexist and not human. And so I wanted to show, I wanted to purposefully and playfully show, like, listen, I'm playing with all these tropes and I'm playing with your expectation as an audience that we're going in a certain direction, and then whoop, we're going totally into another direction where every character is ambiguous and there's no villains and angels, like there is in Fatal Attraction. So I really wanted to create my own path in that sense. And yes, I am very much of the school of write what you know, but on the other hand, I'm not a mother. I'm not a CEO of a robotics company, unfortunately, because I would love to be. And, so I'm a lot of things I'm not that are taking place in the movie. But yes, I bring my own pain, my own jokes, my own experiences, and the ones of people around me. A lot of people in the Netherlands, when we had a premiere there the other day, and a lot of my friends and family, they recognize pieces, and they all feel luckily honored. They are not angry at me. And when the stories are extreme, I ask for permission, of course. But it's kind of like, I kind of like use all these things and put them in the story. But the story is very archetypical. It's really a story that we've seen before when it starts about power and submission, but we swap genders, of course, continuously, and we swap everything so that you don't know anymore, because the intern Samuel, played by Harris, has just as much power over her in a way because he can cancel her every minute of the day. But on paper, she, of course, has the power. And why did I want to do that? Because I think still as women, we still are searching for our place in the world. And I thought it would be incredibly interesting to see a woman that has everything. You know, when you look at her, you think, oh my God, she has a beautiful family. She's a beautiful woman. She has a wonderful marriage. And then she has a beautiful job. But yet she's unhappy and slowly an animal's waking up in her, inside her. And she's kind of in a midlife crisis. And she cannot keep that animal asleep anymore. And that's kind of exciting to watch because... Yeah.
Well, related to that, the choice that you make to have the characters, to have the audience see what the decisions that the character makes to attempt to maintain a certain standard of beauty is, I think, one of the things that people are saying is really bold of Nicole's performance, that she is willing to show injections in her face or the way that she treats her body and tries to stay in shape, you know, as she gets a little bit older in life. Was that always a part of the story? You know, how much of that was conversations with Nicole? Like, how do you develop those? Because it's asking a lot of an actor, a very famous person, to reveal themselves in the way that she does in the movie. So I'm just kind of curious how you kind of broker that creativity.
I wrote that all before I ever thought of her in the part. And after that, after I worked on her project and I said, sorry, I'm going to isolate myself. I have this idea and I want to completely focus on that. And she was, of course, incredibly supportive, but she always stayed in touch with me. And then she asked, like, what is it? And I said, it's called Babygirl. And she immediately got obsessed because apparently her husband has a tattoo of Babygirl in his neck and he calls her Babygirl. And so there were she was just intrigued by that. And then she read a very early draft and it was already in there exactly like it is in the movie. And why I put that in the movie is because I will speak for myself, but I feel in this time, there's this tendency to want to be perfect, to think that we can control everything. So we think that if I do enough ice baths or go to the gym enough and do enough therapy, I can get rid of all the blemishes on my soul and on my skin, you know, and I can become this perfect being and then I will be happy and then everybody will love me, but mostly then I will love myself. And I think, I mean, walking around in LA, like,
it's an epidemic of that anxiety.
Crazy. But I mean, I think it's a worldwide phenomenon. It has always been in humans, right? I mean, even before Christ, like we have proof of that people always trying to live longer, trying to look different. And so I just wanted to show that struggle but what I am very much interested is in, of course, she does the Botox, and I understand that's shocking to look at, but she's also doing this EMDR therapy where she thinks, well, if I do enough therapy, I will be able to get rid of the darkness. And that is, of course, a misunderstanding. And I'm also talking to myself here. I think it's way better to look at your darkness and accept your darkness and be in touch with your darkness, because then it's manageable. But if you start to suppress it or you think I can get rid of it, then it can become risky and dangerous.
It's really impressive what you kind of force us to look at, you know. It's almost like because you can't look at yourself in the mirror when you're doing these things. When you go to therapy, you're not looking in the mirror at yourself. When you are, you know, doing something to enhance your quote unquote beauty, you don't see it. So you're almost like confronting us with the things that we think are solutions, which are usually not. This is why I don't do anything. This is why I don't go to therapy.
Well, you look great.
I just know that's great. I was not fishing for that. I promise you. No one is watching this and thinking Sean looks great. There's not a single. There's not a single.
That's such bullshit. But that is exactly confirms my point. We all have this self-hate, you know.
Yeah.
But it is. But of course, I'm also with my movie. I'm not saying I am above that at all. Like I agree with you. We have no awareness. Often that's so interesting about living. Even if we now have this conversation and it's like, oh, we know it, we look at it and we see it so sharp. And then I walk out of that door and I could, if someone would say, hey, you look tired. I could be like, oh, maybe I should get a little Botox, you know, and I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And I'm in the chair and I'm getting it and I feel better after this. And I'm like, so we constantly, we just don't bring awareness to certain parts of ourselves. And that's just fascinating to me.
It is.
And this movie is, I mean, most and foremost, or how do you say that in English? First, not most and foremost. First and foremost. I hope that it's a fun, sexy, hot fairy tale. But underneath it, I am trying to say this woman, she's, you know, in sort of the second half of her life, she sees death on the horizon like we all do after, like, let's say 50, 45. I'm 49, by the way, in case anyone wants to date me because I'm single. And she is, you know, and she sees the avalanche coming, as she says. And so she is kind of like, what is life about? What am I doing?
Yeah.
And on those crisis moments that we always think are so painful and we don't want them, they are opportunities, of course, to bring an insane amount of awareness to what we're actually doing. But what she then does, instead of like talking to her husband and really meditating on like, okay, so where do I want to go? She doesn't do any of that. No, she falls in love with this young guy.
So I want to talk about that. How do you forge a dynamic between Harris and Nicole that makes us believe it? Obviously, there's the age gap, which is an important part of the conversation of it. But even just between the two actors, if we don't buy them, the movie doesn't work.
Yeah. No, that's very true. I do think it's casting is a large part of that. And then also writing, to not to be arrogant. But I do think you need very good writing. And you need to really, what I always say is, with anything that you create, whether it's a painting or an essay or whatever you're doing, like it's really good to have it sort of be judged by others, to have it be almost like killed by others, so that it gets better and better, and you're sharpening it, and to read it out loud with a friend, and send it to your friends and people you trust. So good writing, and then casting is everything. And I think with them, you can't, like in the Netherlands, I could say, hey, let's do a chemistry reading. But with these kind of level of stars, of course, you kind of have to cast them and then just trust, if they say yes, then okay,
they fit.
Great.
Yeah.
And then,
have you ever seen that happen in your career with two people who are meant to be in love in a film, and you're just like, oh no, they've got no energy?
I mean, I've experienced it myself a lot, where, I've done so many theater shows and films in my country. And I've experienced, but it's very interesting because sometimes you can feel absolutely no chemistry with your co-star, or however you call them. And then the audience will feel everything. So it's not always the experience that the actors have that is truthful. And with movies, I mean, of course, with the camera, you can trick so much. So it's not always that it has to be totally real. But in this case, it's such a complicated casting, because you have Nicole Kidman, which is maybe one of the biggest actors on the planet. And then you want a very young man to be able to not only stand his ground as an actor, but also to dominate her in these scenes, and whilst she's challenging him not to dominate her. So you just need to find somebody very special. And after Nicole said she wanted to do the film, and then immediately both of us were like, okay, but who's going to be Samuel? And then that week that we really started the process to speak about it, I accidentally I didn't even think about it, went to see the premiere of Triangle of Sadness in New York. And I immediately thought, who is this creature? Who is this? This guy is so strange and very funny, but very weird.
Yeah.
And then I went home and I immediately watched Beach Rats.
He's amazing in that movie.
Amazing. And also I love that movie.
It's a great film.
I had never seen it. And so it was such a delight. And then I saw all of his other work and I got obsessed, and I got really scared, because once you want something, and then I really thought we need to have him, because he's not only just an insanely talented young man, but he has a vulnerability and a very unique masculinity that you don't see often with male actors. I gotta get him, And so I remember that I was so nervous to had a Zoom with him, and he was a little bit like, I don't know, like he was not at all like, where he was like, oh yes, I wanted. He was kind of looking at me, asking me questions, which only made me more certain.
Was he trying to suss you out, to try to figure out what your intentions were?
Yeah, because I do think that, of course, people who will see the movie will see it is risky material. It is a very, there's not a lot of actual sex acts in the movie at all, but the sexuality is dark, and
I want to ask you about his character in particular, because there's an aspect of him that is incredibly knowable, and then there's a huge part of him that is not. That is very much like a cipher. And we see these like maybe a glimmer or two of his past or his personal history, but there's no big psychological exploration of him or his feelings. Why frame it that way? Because
for me, again, I'm in conversation with everything that I experienced being an actress, and all the beautiful stories I was part of myself in the classical theater, but also all the amazing stories that I looked at. But in all those stories and on all the characters that I had to play, like Ophelia or something, I always felt that I was a mystery. I always had to be this mystery that a man created. And I wanted to reverse that.
I love that.
And so I did that on purpose. And so for me, he might be a fantasy. Maybe he's not even there. But I did want to give him a lot of humanity, of course, because you do have to really enjoy the whole roller coaster ride that you're going on when you come to see the film. So me and Harris talked a lot about that. And there are scenes, when he asks her, this is not giving anything away, I hope the studio won't kill me, but when he asks her to hold him, and all those moments are very human, and he shows his full range in it. But yes, he doesn't really have a backstory.
No details, just that there's something a little broken.
And you feel that, and he's looking for love, and he's very much exploring his masculinity. And that is something I really didn't want to. I want to create a very feminist movie in the sense that I wanted, the female lead, and I wanted it all to be about female desire and the orgasm gap and all of that. But I also really wanted to include masculinity in that discussion, and how are men supposed to behave. And two men of two very different generations, Antonio Banderas and Harris, are both kind of like at loss at points in this movie. Like, what am I supposed? What is expected of me?
Yeah.
What can I do? What can I not do? I'm sorry, but I don't understand.
Very relatable bit of male dynamic that you've created. Honestly, I think a lot of men are going to get it. In a way that you don't often see it portrayed. So well done on that one.
I hope, and that's and also for Nicole, that is incredibly important, and for Sophie, like that we really felt like the four of them, that everybody in every sense gets a say and it gets space, like the men and the women in this kind of like exploration of what is sex and power.
So it's interesting because Bodies sort of gets at this, but not really. But there's a sense that a younger generation, maybe younger than you and I, has some anxiety, particularly about sex in movies, that the portrayal of the sex act in movies is something we may not need. I don't actually know how much of that is real or not, but it's often discussed.
Yeah, very often.
And your film, as you said, doesn't feature a ton of portraits of it, but there's one very strong, almost abstracted version of it at the beginning of the film. And it's clearly on the minds of the characters throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
So
it's a very sexual film without ever really... or there's like snippets of actual sex, but there's never a lingering on it. It's not about that.
Why not portray it that way?
Because I totally identify weirdly with that generation. That particular study or whatever it was came out when we were already done shooting. But I very much relate, because when I was shooting Bodies, there was already also a lot of articles about how that generation might not be interested in the act of sex. Now it's about how they don't want to see it on a screen.
Right.
But for me, I'm a little bit similar. I'm even, nobody will believe this, but I am a prude. I come from chaos. I come from radical hippies where everything was completely like there were no boundaries. So for me, it's very scary if it's too much in my face. So the milk scene, for instance, where Harris Dickinson orders a glass of milk for Romy, who sits at a totally different space in the bar, and she drinks the whole thing, and then he walks past her and he says, "Good girl." For me, that's the most sexual scene. That is so sexual, but nothing happens. They don't touch. They're very far apart. And so I always love when it's a suggestion, and I think for a lot of people, sexuality is a story. It's a mind game. And that is a turn on. And I don't say it's not shocking, because I understand to see, a grown woman in a corner of a hotel room, or crawling around or eating candy out of someone's hand. I understand that can be shocking and sexy, but I don't like just two bodies just moving up. I don't want to see that. So in that sense, I totally understand that generation. And my movie, apart from being about sexuality and power, is also very much a movie about two generations. Very much. Like that is maybe even more important to me than anything else. And it's kind of like looking with humor and playfulness, but at my generation and a little bit above me, how we think, what we think feminism is. And then these younger people that walk in and are like, "Excuse me, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
And I love that. And I love how the female CEO gets kind of like a lesson in that she should be more vulnerable and that she should be more open to, and not think in like this old-fashioned form of hierarchy. So we're just discussing power throughout all these sub-themes, and different generations is definitely a topic. And I have a lot of hope for younger generations to have different attitudes towards sex, identity. They're more fluid. They are more kink positive. They're more body positive. So I'm kind of inspired.
Just a couple more things for you. I'm very curious about the big needle drops, which there are not very many, but they're very impactful. And I feel like I could feel when I was at the screening everybody was like, this is so the right song for this moment. So maybe you could talk about how you chose a couple of those.
Yeah. So again, we stay with the generation topic because there's Nicole Kidman's world, so to say, and then there's the young people's world and in the music and how we handled the music. And so even before I started writing, I knew Father Figure, because Father Figure has become my anthem of my life. I lost my father when I was very young, so I was kind of frozen in time. I was 10 years old. And when you're 10, you think your father is Superman and the strongest man in the world. So I always had a bit of a daddy complex. So when George Michael released that song, I remember, oh my God, I just felt so seen by it. Anyway, so there was always a song that would be on my playlist. And then when I started to think about this sexual story and how I had a powerful woman falls in love with her male intern who's dominating her sexually, I thought, oh my God, Father Figure has all these elements. And if you play that under a scene where this younger man acts fatherly over this older woman that has all the power, that could be so interesting. And then, of course, Nicole is as much his daddy, as he's her daddy. And so I called the head of film, Noah Secco, even before I started writing. And I said, hey, it's Halina, I need that song Father Figure. I need the rights. And he was just like, what are you talking about? And I still didn't really know how that all works in Hollywood and how expensive.
It's not cheap, yeah.
So he's like, well, maybe first start to write the movie and then see if we're going to make it. But once I showed it to him, and it was in, and they said, yeah, we have to get it. And so we were lucky enough to get the rights. And then the In Excess song that we're playing at another moment is, of course, also really a song from her generation.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they go to the rave, there's a huge rave scene, which is kind of like the orgasm of the movie, if you will, the climax. Then that is all his world. And that I had that rave composed, or do you call that composed? Created by my friends of Yellow Claw. These are Dutch DJs that are also filmmakers and that are very popular also in America. And so I thought that would be very appropriate. And we played that song during the night that we were shooting it. And Nicole, who can never go to raves anymore and who loves raves, just kept dancing. You couldn't drag her off the dance floor in between takes. And it became this thing where these background actors, of course, they felt that. And it was it was just incredible.
I love it. The music works so well. It's really a great choice. Nice. Halina, we got to let you go. We end every episode of this show by asking filmmakers.
We just started.
No, we've been going for a long time. That's how much fun you've been having.
I do. I have fun.
We end every episode of the show by asking filmmakers, what's the last great thing that they have seen? Have you been able to watch any movies while you've been promoting?
Oh, God, let me think.
Could be new or old.
Oh, yes, I know. I am obsessed with The Brutalist.
Yes, me as well. Yes, it is my favorite movie of the year. So, no disrespect to your film, which I also loved.
No, of course. And so I had to go to a screening of it at the New York Film Festival.
You know Guy.
Yes.
You are
Guy is with my best friend, Carice.
Yes.
And so I know him, and I know Brady and Mona also, who wrote and, of course, directed it. But they told me, okay, and I was invited and I had to go. But I really, honestly, if I'm honest with you, I wasn't looking forward to it. I was like, it's so long. There's an intermission. I have ADHD. How am I going to get through it? And I loved every single second of it. I never thought about the time. It was just an emotional journey. It was amazing. It looks amazing. It really says things about our time, even though it takes place in the past. It's beautifully, elegantly written. It's insanely well acted. I'm so proud of both of them. And of the writing, Mona and him together, they did such an amazing job. And their couple, which is so amazing. And they are like a group. They always create so much joy around them. When I arrived in New York, I was so lonely. And I was on stage with Jude Law, who of course worked with them as well. And he introduced me to them. And he said, you should meet them because they will give you a feeling of warmth. They have a lot of friends, and they were from that moment on, my life in New York really changed. And then seeing them having created this movie, then I'm like, this is one of the best things I've ever seen. So yes.
It's an amazing recommendation. Congratulations on Babygirl.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Thanks to Jack Sanders. Thanks to our producer, Bobby Wagner, for his work on today's episode. Later this week, we are sharing our most anticipated movies of 2025. Are you excited?
I am. Can we do our in and out lists?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
But
great.
Is it only movie focused or is it for everything in your life?
No, movie focused.
Okay.
So,
but, what is in on trend and what is out on trend? Or what you want to be in on trend and what you want to be out on trend?
Setting my intentions.
Okay. Got it. All right. Very cool. Thanks, Amanda. We'll see you later this week.